Welcome, everybody, to the very first episode of the Bald Avenger show. I feel like there should be like wild fanfare and excitement and passion and all that kind of stuff. But it is super exciting. This has been a long time in the making. It's been a long time getting here. The format, anybody that knows me already understands that I don't take a shit without a plan. And so we wanted to make sure that this was going to be highly impactful. I'm not doing this as a hobby. I'm doing this as an impactful, mission-oriented sort of thing. And so we're going to get into that. But the gentleman that is with me, those of you that are seeing us, the gentleman that is with us, I hand-selected Joshua T. Berglan. And his show, I'll let him talk about where he comes from. But one of the reasons why I chose him and why the format of this first episode is setting up to where he's actually going to be interviewing me, we're going to be having a conversation, is because I played back and forth with the idea of doing this by myself, just kicking off the very first episode. We've got some amazing things planned, some amazing guests, really they're going to be more than guests. It's going to be experiences that we have with different people, with different groups of human beings. It's going to be an experience that we're having more than just kind of listening. And you'll understand that as we get rolling. But the reason why I wanted to have Joshua here is, he's one of my dear friends. We have a group of people you can see over my shoulder here. Misfit Nation is the group of people over the last couple of years that named themselves. We talk about being misfits and all that. We're going to get into what that means. But, if there was somebody that I was going to say is an epic example of a misfit, it's Joshua, right? It's Joshua. And it's me. Like, we're definitely brothers. We met, a year or two ago, and really just kind of are in alignment as far as what our outcomes are and what we want to see happen in the world. And we both made major mistakes. I'm going to go deeply into mine. He can talk about whatever he wants to, but he's made a bunch of mistakes. I've made a bunch of mistakes. And the thing that separates misfits from douchebags is that we have decided to stop those actions that are causing pain in ourselves and in other people. And so we'll get into all that. We're going to get into all that. But I wanted to sort of set the context of why I invited Joshua to be here, because I think he's one of my dear friends. He's a brother. He's more than a friend. He's a brother. And he's somebody who's very, very good at interviewing. And I believe that when we're together, rather than me interviewing, which is kind of going to be the format from here on out, I will be doing the interviewing and setting up the experiences. But for this one, Joshua and I had probably one of the most memorable interactions online that I've had thus far. And if anybody wants to look it up, it'll be on the Jason Sisneros.com site. It'll be on the baldavengershow.com site. It's on Facebook, Joshua T. Berglan. And he'll, we can get you all those details and whatnot and as things go on. But it was really, really great. There was a great interaction. He does a wonderful job at interviewing people. And I thought it would be a better interaction for you to hear both of us. He's got a unique take on me. He's had some unique experiences with me and as we've developed out this idea. He was there before the logo. He was there before the name. He was there before, saying, hey, Jason, you need to do something with this idea. So Joshua, why don't you introduce yourself and tell them why you're interested and why you accepted my invitation to be here to do the very first Bald Avenger show podcast.
Well, man, first of all, I'm so happy to be here. When we spoke yesterday and you gave me the opportunity, I geeked out because I remember what an amazing experience it was for me to introduce you, your first time doing comedy, having the opportunity to introduce you on stage. But, for me, it's personal because I have been invited into your life and I get to see things a lot of people don't see. And one, that you are the real deal. For it's behind the scenes, you are the real deal. I've seen you in the boardroom working with companies. I've seen the work that you do. I get to see from just looking. I can be in the audience just watching, and I can see how people respond to you. And for me, what's special and inspiring is that I'm getting to see this, and I know your past, and I know that you've taken all of that energy and all of that crap and harnessed it in a way that you're not only just being a light in the world, you're physically going to the depths of hell to ease suffering. And that to me is a role model. That to me is a father figure. That to me is what a mentor should be. And at least for me. So to have this opportunity, it means the world to me, man. I'm super stoked, but I knew that just from watching your Facebook lives, I was like, this dude's got to do something. Like his voice, what he talks about, the diversity of the wide range of subjects that you're going to be covering on this show are freaking awesome. And it's because, and it's polarizing, it's important. And the fact is this, the audience isn't ready for it, but the game's about to change. Like where you had, and I'm a radio geek. Like for me to have the opportunity to be behind a microphone is everything. I dreamed of as a child. And now because of technology, it's like these little childlike dreams of being a talk show host can become reality. And I look at you, and having watched you in your real life and what you put online, and how virtually it is the same thing. I mean, you are an open book, but it's if you're going back to the transcendent radio hosts like Don Imus and Howard Stern and Opie and Anthony and even Oprah, like what they were doing, they were game changers. And what you're about to do is you're about to completely rewrite the rule book, and you're about to change the game. And to be on the very first episode is terrific.
Well, thank you, brother. I guess that doesn't set too high of a bar, you know.
I'm going to push you, man. I'm going to push you.
And Howard Stern, you know, there's two good ones. I was watching something about Oprah today, actually, where she was being interviewed back in the day before she became famous, you know. And there's a lot of history. We'll get into one of these episodes. One of the guys that launched her career, who's a very, very good friend of mine. And I was watching the interview, and it was basically, they asked her, you know, what if this show doesn't take off? Not a breath. Is just, I'm going to be successful. There was no doubt, right? She had zero doubt. There was nothing. She's like, the show's going to be great. And if it's not, I'm going to be great, you know? And it was just so fascinating, because I feel like as this has been building for the last couple of years, this is not something that I ever thought that I was going to grow up to be. I'm 47 years old. I just turned 47. You know, and for me at 46, started thinking about this. I decided at 46 years old to become a comedian, right? And we'll get into how all of this story, you know, plays together. But most of the time, that's not what people do. After they've built a successful career and they've had the ups and downs in life, it's not, hey, I think I'll just go become a comedian. And so that's what I did. But everything has a purpose. I believe that that's what people are going to understand about, well, I'm not here for my own self-aggrandizement. It's not about me. And we had a board meeting just prior to this, because we wanted to make sure that we had everything ready to go, and we were ready to have these conversations. And one of our primary statements was, if this show ever becomes about Jason Sisneros, we need to stop the show. That's not why I'm here. I'm going to enjoy it. I enjoy interaction with other people, but I am not here for just to become another podcast or just another voice out in the marketplace. I believe that life and my failures have uniquely prepared me for this moment in time to be a voice for people that are voiceless. And I think that as we've traveled this last couple of years together, I think one of the things that has stuck out in my mind is he says what I was thinking, right? And you know, and a lot of people build up wealth, and I've made money, I've lost money, I've made money, and I just happen to be on a decent upside swing on the upside these days. And it's one of those areas where it's not about having the money so that I can be comfortable. It's about creating the influence so that we can ease suffering in the world. And if I lost every penny that I have right now in the process, okay, I'll make it back again. It's no big deal. But it's not about that. This is not about creating a bunch of money. This is about really taking the blessings that I've been given, the failures that I've had, the people that have sown into me, and the opportunities that have been given to me along the way, and really paying that forward and lifting people and opportunities for other people that are in suffering. Most of it self-imposed, but some of it external, right?
Yeah.
To be able to have that opportunity. So we're going to talk about that, and everything goes, everything goes. One of the things that I had to do personally as an individual, as I started this path, was to realize I've got some demons in my closet. I've got some mistakes that I've made. I've got skeletons, and how we talk about those skeletons and getting them out and really being transparent is the first step to us building whatever it is for us. And again, it's not about my story. It's about all of our stories. You and I had this conversation a couple of years ago at an event, and it was basically, look, you need to get out there. And part of your getting out there and getting your voice heard was that you had to deal with some of this stuff. You had to get it out, right? You had to talk about it, because we're going to talk about this in depth as we transition into a couple of other subjects. But we are being manipulated by our mistakes, first in our own mind, and then by influential figures outside of us or loved ones that are close to us. And in order to free ourselves from that, we have to be transparent. And again, we'll talk about all that, every mistake I've ever made. And anybody listening to this that if I miss a mistake, just text me or email me. I'll talk about it. It's it's one of those things. I know I've made a lot of mistakes. I've tried to pull out the big ones, the big ones where people would go, oh, he's trying to be somebody that he's not. And that is I'm going to do my level best not to ever show up on this microphone and to attempt to project somebody that I'm not, because I am a flawed, failured human being that has made every single mistake, some of them once or twice, just to make sure that I was making the mistake deep enough, So, and we're going to have those conversations, but I also want to have the conversation about people that are fearful about having these kind of conversations, and that people that are fearful of being transparent and being genuine, and knowing that the biggest reason that we don't do that is because of the manipulation and the power that it gives other people to leverage our voice. If we speak too highly, if we pop out above the crowd, who would attack us? And a lot of times, and we're going to get into the anatomy of this and how we can free ourselves from it, because a lot of times the people that attack us the most are the people that we loved the dearest, the deepest, or served at the highest level. And we opened ourselves and became vulnerable to them. And then they use that stuff against us, thinking that for some reason, that because I made a mistake, or because I cheated in my marriage, or because I got a DUI, or because of, me going bankrupt, or whatever the case and scenario is, that people that will manipulate and control will utilize that for you to get you to put a pin in your life and to stop there. Because if you dare go outside of that, you made a mistake and you're a scumbag and you need to stay in that spot. These conversations are about getting rid of that energy and about freeing yourself so that you can participate in what I believe is an awakening of the idea that the individual must be whole before the society can succeed. Right. And that's my belief as we move forward. And so us as an individual, if we walk forward in this thing and we think we're broken, then we have a problem, because there's two types of people in this world. There's the type of person who has bought the belief that they're broken, and broken people, you've heard this before, hurt people. And so if we believe ourselves as broken, then we're going to do the best that we can to draw those people around us that will either make us feel better about our brokenness in a way, in a codependent way, or they'll be the type of people that we invite into our world that will take advantage of our pain and make the world around us. And if we can't find that, we're going to go out and find good people and tear them down if we're broken. The other side of this equation are people that have healed themselves and that are healed in themselves and know and understand that when they speak ill of another human being, that says more about them than anyone else on the planet. You see these trolls and everybody that gets away with this stuff. I've got 3 very specific individuals and individual circumstances that we're going to talk about today of people and scenarios that were people that are way more deeply flawed than I will ever be trying to attack me, because the hand waving, and remember, this is not about me. Think about this in your own life as you listen to this. Those people who are attacking you the deepest and the hardest and waving the hands and yelling at you and posting on social media and all that other kind of stuff have way more skeletons than you do. Almost every single time. And see, I have this thing, and one of my mentors said this statement to me. He goes, Jason, you've reached a point where you've got deep pockets and long arms, which means that if somebody wants to attack me, I'm okay with that, because I've done some shit. I've done some fucked up shit. Like I have. There's no doubt about it that I have. And I will admit to every single one of them, if confronted with them. I'm going to do my best to get them out, and purge it from my own mind. As you know, like I love 8-miling myself, and I've done it. I started about 10 years ago with a book. And then in that 10 years, I made more mistakes. And then voila, we got Facebook Live. So I could say I made a mistake and came and here, and now I could go Facebook Live the next day after I figured out I made a mistake and tell everybody. You watch me do a Facebook Live interview with my ex-wife, right? Like there's nothing. I am fearless. There's nothing you can do to me. You can't take anything I've got. I'm not afraid. This is the journey that we're going to go on together, because I believe this division is ripping our children and our future generations it's ripping having it better than we have it out of their hands right as we speak.
Amen.
And so as we have these conversations, that's who I have in mind. So you can attack me. I don't care. It doesn't matter. If I die tomorrow, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. So I care deeply. You'll hear me say a lot of times, I don't care. And when I say that, it's not that I don't care from a heart perspective. It's just that any attack you want to bring on with me, go for it. It's okay. People will, the court of public opinion will judge whether this information is helpful, whether I'm funny, whether it should be out there, or whether I should shut my mouth and shut down the show. And I'm going to let them speak. And either way, I'm okay. Either way, I'm okay. But I believe this is something you've helped convince me of that. Our Misfit Nation human beings that we know and love, that have developed over the last few years together. I believe that it's something that's necessary.
I agree. And I'm happy that you're doing this finally. And I think it is amazing. And you brought up your ex-wife, but one of the most beautiful things that I can think of, and the best explanation to how true you are, is that your ex-wife not only loves you, but she respects you a lot. That's called divorce goals.
Right.
My ex-wives don't like me so much. I can't say that. So if there's any reason, any other reason to be inspired and pay attention, audience, it's because his ex-wife loves and respects him still, regardless of his past.
One of them does. One of them does. So, no, I have. We've got a couple of exes that we need to chat about, but
well, never mind.
I get along with all of them. We're all really dear friends. So I'm
still working on a couple. God.
There you go.
So you've kind of it's funny because I've had, every time I've interviewed you on the red carpet, I've interviewed you on a show, 2 shows, I've introduced you on stage, and every time I think of the question, who is Jason Sisneros, I come up with a new answer each time. It's kind of like reading a book for the second, third, fourth time. Like every time you read it, there's another explanation. There's another layer to it. But now, because the show is the Bald Avenger, I want to know, who is Jason Sisneros and how is he different than the Bald Avenger?
That is a fantastic question that I was not expecting, so that we should get a real and raw answer. So
good. You didn't send me questions.
No, I did. I was going to send you questions. I didn't. This is how much I trust you, brother. Like, we're going to end up having a good time, and something's going to come out of it that's going to be epic. So who is, I guess this would be, because I think that whoever we are today is an evolution in some sorts of who we started out being, right? And the early part of my life, I was adopted when I was 6 years old. My adopted father had connections to organized crime, and was heavily involved in dealing drugs. He was a very highly abusive man, and so it went from this, idyllic, and I don't really remember, because again, a lot of trauma survivors they'll know and understand. They'll identify with the fact that you block out large portions of your life, where some people are talking about a great Christmas they had when they were 3 years old or when they were 9 years old or whatever. I don't remember any of that shit, because I blocked it out on purpose. And that blackout actually, saved my life multiple times. The ability to be able to black out and still be functioning, saved my life multiple times. But we go back, and before that, it was just me and my mom. My real father and her had a relationship. She got pregnant with me. He disappeared. She didn't say anything to him, but he bounced. And so I was adopted at 6 years old. You got to understand, I didn't know that I was adopted. Had no idea. I thought for my entire exposure to this man that he was my biological father. And so that will color a little bit of the knowledge of these conversations as we go forward. But so he adopted me when I was 6 years old, and almost instantaneously, at 6 years old, my mom tried to leave him pretty quickly after, because he was very abusive to her, broke her arm, a couple times, threw her through walls. I mean, we'll get into all of that abuse, but this particular time he was running or he was chasing us to the police station. She was trying to run away, and he came up alongside of us in a truck and rammed our Volkswagen, and we tumbled, sort of end over end and landed on the grass of the police station, and got out. That was the first time he broke my nose, of at least a couple dozen that I know of, that he broke my nose. Everybody looks at my nose and goes, "Oh, it looks pretty good." I had it fixed. As I was growing up, it's on this side, it's on this side, it's smashed in, it's like it's all over my face. But I've had it fixed because of the breathing thing, not so much for the aesthetic deal, because I have so much scar tissue. And so as that was the beginning of very abusive time frame. And along that time, and now that I know, and I'm looking back on it, I had a light that wasn't his. He was living in darkness. He had sort of this dark past and things that he went through. And I was this light that my mother loved, that my grandfather loved, that my grandmother loved. And he wanted to snuff that out. Like, he wanted me to be as miserable in this life. And think about the application of how many people you're surrounded by right now that would rather snuff your light than to stoke it. Mm-hmm. And I think if there's anything that why I'm doing this show, it's because we need to stoke more light. We don't need to add to anybody's darkness. I mean, that's not what the Misfit Nation is all about. No. We need to light them up. We need to take them to the next level. We need to seed into their strengths so that more good can come of this thing called humanity. And so he was trying to snuff it out. And I remember at 9 years old, stepping in front of him and in front of my mom for the first time. and him hitting me as hard as he could, and I didn't go down. It was one of the most proud moments of my life when I didn't go down. I got my ass whooped even harder, after that. But he would full on. I mean, imagine, a 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old kid, and you're getting full on blasted in the face by punches as hard as you possibly can by a full-grown adult, right? I would sleep with one eye open. I sleep very light still to this day because he would come in drunk, high, whatever, and just while I'm laying there, blast me in the face, right? And just on and on and on and on and on. So I don't necessarily want to talk about, the specifics, because it's not about me. What it is it's the scenario that all of the people that I've run into, that that we know in common, that are claiming admission to the Misfit Nation, is that we've had rough shit in our lives. There's been tough things that have happened from varying degrees. We know, we've got members that were sex trafficked as little girls. We've got, people that were raped, people that have been to prison, people that have, on accident killed people, that have, there's just every mistake that you can possibly imagine. So it's not about my story. It's just to say, hey, here was my origin and here's what happened. And your original question was, who's Jason Sisneros as the Bald Avenger? That's the question that we're working towards the answer for, right? And so that, him trying to snuff it out, that led to at 17 years old, my mom, I came home, I got kicked out on Thanksgiving when I was 16. I've been living on my own since that point in time. Thanksgiving Day of when I was turned 16, and I turned, my birthday's in October. So I was just 16 and I got kicked out of the house. Well, I came back to the house one night to see my mom, to grab some clothes and to do that kind of stuff. And was yelling around the house, hey mom, where are you? Where are you? Blah, blah, blah. And I went downstairs and I saw familiar, knew exactly what it was, where her body had been thrown through the drywall in different places in the basement. And up until that moment, up until that time, there was no use. There was no, point in calling the police. There was no point in bringing in authorities, or because they never did anything. But for some reason, and plus I was breaking the law plenty at that age myself. I learned how to deal drugs. I learned how to fight. I learned all of that stuff. And from the time I was 12 years old, that's how I made my money. And so that night though was different. And I went to the police station and I said, I think my mom's been hurt really bad. And I know who did it. And we need to go up to the house immediately. And so we did. And they found my mom inside, battered, bloody, just, exactly what we thought. He was there. And the police this time took him to jail and kept him there. And the judges prosecuted him. And he was sentenced with essentially 33 years for attempted murder. So there's a little bit of stuff that happened in between, but he got arrested. He got out. He then found us in protective custody, took me at gunpoint, held me at gunpoint, told me he was going to kill me out at a lake. Ended up not doing it. There's an entire experience behind that we'll get to it someday. And then when he left there, I thought he was going back to the protective custody to the shelter to get my mom. And this was like 17 miles away. And on the way back, he got arrested for the next time, and then got out again and set our house to explode. My mom goes on vacation. I went on a 2-week drunk. There's just all of these things of providence of why we ended up not going back to the house. But this is all, written. I've talked about it in a Forbes interview that I did. We've got all the newspaper clippings, all of the stuff that happened. And he had set the entire house. Like if we would have opened a window, there was sparks set off. He cut the gas line to fill the house with gas. And then any opening that you would have went into, there was a flint so that it would spark and it would have blown up the house. Well, by the universe, by God, by Allah, by whatever it is that you believe in, by Buddha, or just by dumb luck, 2 weeks, my mom went on vacation. She'd not been in a vacation in probably 15 years. And I went on a 2-week drunk with my friends and didn't go home. And so the neighbors complained of a gas leak, and they came and they broke the windows so that it would air out, went in and saw all of how he had set up the house. And then when they arrested him that time, that was it. It was attempted murder. It would have killed us. It would have killed the 2 neighbors on either side. It would have been mass destruction had it happened. So all of that to be said. And then when he went into prison, he sent people after us. He sent the most disgusting letters to my mom about, skinning her alive and doing like we have all of this, and it was funny as I decided to start becoming more public around philanthropy and whatnot. We had sat down and had a conversation, my mom and I, and said, is this the direction we want to go? Do we want to open up this Pandora's box? And you know what it is it's that people try to bully you and try to use fear tactics so that you don't tell your story. And we decided that, no matter how many places I get attacked from, no matter how many people come after me, no matter how many people try to destroy me along the way, this needs to be said, or I can't look my kids in the eye. These things need to be talked about. The stuff that we see, the people that we're going to introduce you to on these episodes, it needs to be talked about raw and real so that we can stop being intimidated, so that we can stop having people control us, even if it's our own mind or the people that are surrounding us, and stop bullying us with these ideas. And so that led into, again, I did what I knew. I was dealing drugs. I was collecting money. I was beating people up. I was a bad guy. And not only was I a bad guy, I was a really good bad guy. I was smart. I knew how not to get caught. I knew, I knew that I wanted to go out. Like, again, if I was going to be a criminal, I was going to be the best one I possibly could be. As fucked up as that is for me to say those words out loud, that was my thought process. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it well. And I was good at it. And, and so that led into a whole bunch of stuff. There's a lot of people from that part of my life that are my dear friends now that know and understand what I'm saying. They were there for a big portion of it, and they know the kind of damage that I did. And I always figured out a way in my own mind. This is what I want everybody to understand about people that are hurting people, is I still came up with a way to be the hero that I just always thought to myself, and came up with something that if I was going to deliver a beating, this person that's about to receive it deserves it. You know what I mean? And so that led into a lot of things. It was a dark portion of my life. It led into mentors and, all the way back to my 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Ivy, who taught me the power of language and the power of words, and how I could use those words when I would be locked in my room with a beat up face, for a couple weeks at a time, how I could escape that by reading and by using words and writing my own stories that would take me out of there, that would then create another reality, which is very similar to the reality that I live now because of my ability to utilize language and to be able to creatively, to use creativity and innovation to be able to apply those skill sets to the rest of my life, and to know and understand, which is why this podcast exists, is that we can create, no matter who you are, no matter who's listening, no matter who's watching this, no matter who you are, you can create a reality that is close to what you design. You're already doing it. You're already doing it. The reality that you're living right now is very close to because it's either conscious or unconscious. And whatever the reality that you're living right now even it's still your creativity. It's still your brain. It's still your unconscious. You can become conscious, and you can become with words and with language and with a piece of paper and a pencil. The people that we're going to bring on the show, the people that you know that I associate with, the inspirations that are out in this world, use language, both internal, external, written, word, and otherwise, to be able to create a new reality. And so from there into a wrestling coach, Mr. Charlie White for Rocky Ford Wrestling was my Rocky Ford Wrestling coach, that would pay for my if we were poor, we were broke, we were in a bad situation. He would pay for me to go to these wrestling tournaments. He stood up for me. I beat up a guy at a wrestling tournament, which is completely against the rules. You don't hit, you don't lay hands on other people. And he stood up for me and made sure that I didn't get kicked out of the league, and taught me how that physical violence wasn't the answer, and to use skill set, to use my mind. And that led into a football coach, Coach Daryl Holt, that coached me in football, that led into business exam, like Tim Foley and Tony Robbins, and the people that have sown into my life now and more recently. But it's that person after person. And that's what I hope that this show becomes, is if you don't have that person in your life, that this voice, or the voices that we're going to bring on here, and the interviews that we're going to have, and the conversations that we're going to have, that this becomes that voice that may be that difference for you, to let you know that you're not broken. And those challenges are and the things that you've gone through, and the things that you've fucked up, and the tears that you've cried, and the desperation that you feel, and the emptiness that you feel inside, is the strength that this world needs. And it's the strength that's going to differentiate you from the rest of the world. So, I've 2 times now, my eyes are tearing up and getting emotional. So this could be a long episode, but I want to shorten it and get to the point that you asked the question of. What's the history? I came out of that. I was given a chance. I failed in business. I crashed my first company by not understanding finance. I came into it. I understood how to work hard. I understood how to build a loyalty, because, this loyalty on the streets, the same loyalty that you have in a business if you build a good culture. I didn't understand money. I didn't understand that I was using money that I was making, and I was making piles of it, was trying to fill a hole of emptiness inside of me that I hadn't resolved yet. That the bigger the house, the bigger the boat, the bigger the trips, the bigger the financial outcome would prove to the world that I was worthy of its love. And it didn't work, and I crashed that business, and all of the love that I thought I had bought disappeared, because all I was a fucking whore. That's it. I was buying their love, and I was being their prostitute or their pimp, depending on which way you wanted to look at it. Right. And so that led into, another big discovery, and really losing my mind. I went through a period of extraordinary depression. And when we talk about depression, those of you that don't know, I was a little moody today, versus depression. Depression is something that is physically painful. I felt like I was having, that I had a brain tumor. I felt like I was having heart attacks. I convinced myself that I couldn't swallow for a period of time, and I lost so much. The only thing I could eat was bologna smothered in mayonnaise, because it would help it go down my throat, or soup with no chunks in it. Every other thing my brain convinced me that I was choking to death, and so that's where the power of the brain, it was 3 failures back to back. It was, having vendors that I owed money to that I couldn't pay, it was not understanding the laws of how to properly go out of business. So everybody convinced me, and it did a lot of damage, because, and at that point in time, I was looking up and saying $0 for me is $2.3 million away. For me to get to 0, where people consider themselves broke, it was going to take me a $2.3 million hole to dig out of, because my house, my business, the vendors, the debt, the whatever, all of that $2.3 million to get to a point of being at zero. Failed miserably in business, miserably. And so utilizing those, and then lost my mind, ended up, in a suicidal position out in Southern California with a gun to my head on a cliff. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to fall into the ocean so my kids would never have to see me. And it was there that I had an awakening. And it wasn't a big one. It wasn't a big one. It was a small, it's not your time. It's not time for you to go. Like, and we heard January say it at the last event, right? Where she said, I've thought about killing myself, but not today. Right. And it was that small of a thing that opened up a door that said, okay, if I'm not going to die today, I had lost my house. I was living on the beach in Southern California. I'd lost everything, and lost connection to my daughters, my ex-wife, the whole, I was by myself and alone as much as I had ever been in my entire life. And that opened up a door to say, okay, not today. Now what? I got to go feed myself again. And that led into a pastor who gave me Tony Robbins' book. And that led into meeting Tony Robbins or going to an event. That led into me getting a job, being able to get back on my feet, driving a shitty car, getting a place to live in, and just step by step by step by step by step, and creating this, and then having the ups and downs, and having that lead into the 2006 to 2009 timeframe where the entire financial universe, everything that you touched was turning to gold in those times, right? I mean, you had people that were working at McDonald's that owned 3 houses. You had every investment opportunity in the world was going your way. And I thought, and that led into me making, I had built up some money. Back to that, I went to work for Tony, became one of his top speakers, and then went on to start buying businesses and creating all these different opportunities. And I bought into the same, beliefs that anything that we did, any investment that we touched, any place that we invested money. And I started to recommend things that I was doing to other people. And we were all getting into crazy shit that I look back on now and I go, what the fuck were we thinking? I mean, story after story where we were just pouring money into these ideas where, like, there's you can extract gold out of what do you call it? I've forgotten. I've on purpose. You could extract gold out of coal powder, and and it's just the right refinery, and then going over to Africa and buying gold at a discount, and diamonds, and doing deals in Middle East. And I mean, some of them were successful. Like some of this stuff that I'm talking about, we had some success at. Most of them were radical fucking failures. Oh, so I lost my money. I lost people that I loved dearly's money. I lost, we got into, I was investigated by, by some 3-letter, entities. And had I ever done it, here's the thing that I will tell you. I never was charged. I was never found guilty of anything. I can tell you that if I had any ill will or intent of usage of purposely screwing somebody, I would have been behind bars and still would be behind bars, because some of the people that we ran across during these periods of time ended up and are still behind bars because of their financial shenanigans. They knew better. I was just an enthusiastic idiot, and I've been told on more than one occasion that ignorance is no defense of the law. And Jason, you might be doing some time because of your ignorance, right? Quotation marks, because of your ignorance. And there was several years there that went by that being investigated and having these conversations and being under lights and all this other stuff that happened, man, that I didn't know whether I was going to be able to hug my kids goodnight because I was on my way to prison. And by the grace of God and by my, I say ignorant enthusiasm, and not using any money for personal use or purposely screwing people out of stuff. It was, I still to this day believe, had I misappropriated one single dollar of anybody's money, that I would have done jail time, prison time, because these were federal charges. So that was a rough time, man. And going through that and that theory, like today, the me of today, and what I consult businesses at a super high level, college grad, not just college grads, but Harvard grads, Wharton grads, Yale grads, they're on their businesses. Most of the education I got was from my failures of crashing 3 businesses and the almost going to prison because I didn't know what I was doing with money situation. I do not have one single investor. I am not in debt to anyone with any of my companies, and I have 0 partners. That was the outgrowth of learning lessons, and I have some dear friends in business, some people that I love dearly that I still will not be partners with. I will not take a dollar of investment from anybody. You will never hear me on this show or any other show or anywhere say, you should invest your money. Nope. Learn my lesson. You know what I'm good at is putting my hands on businesses, straighten things out, making them incrementally better, making them profitable, and building a great culture and teaching other people how to do that. That's what I'm really, really good at. And so, anything you do with me, you're going to pay for me to clean your toilets. You're going to pay for me to, to give you some good advice around business. That advice has come from reading multiple books. I don't, it's really amazing to me. I don't teach we'll get into that side of it, but me, I don't teach the idea of the day. The stuff that I teach, most everybody already knows. It's just the right sequence, right? It's come out of I've learned on the shoulders of giants. How did I do that? Broke, didn't graduate from high school. How did I do that? I did it through seminars, going to listen to people. I did it by reading books. I did it by trial and error. I have a payroll that I have to meet every single Friday that I can't afford to listen to bullshit and theory, right? And so I've squeezed that out of it. And a lot of people go, oh, Jason, when you talked about this, I read about that in a book. Yeah, you did. Good for you. What did you do to apply it? Here's what I did to apply it that has made me millions of dollars now, right? So, and that's the thing. What is practically applicable and what is of real world use? And so the magic of what we've done with my consulting company is that we've taken those ideas and we've put them into a proper sequence so that anybody can follow them and apply them to their own businesses.
That sequence matters a lot too.
Yeah. Well, you've seen it.
Yeah. And I've seen what happens when someone doesn't follow the sequence.
Right.
And thinks that, well, I can skip the line here.
Yeah.
The process is a beautiful thing to watch. And it's easy to get impatient when you see, oh my God, it's here. It's right here. I can make this happen. No, not yet. You need to do 6, 7, and 8 first before you get there, or it's going to fail miserably.
That's right.
And I do love that about you. And I love that confidence and knowing that you have. It's like watching you work with businesses is like watching the outcome before you even walk in the door. The outcome is known, and they have that available to them if they choose to be a good student and do everything that you've done. Agreed.
And that's where it comes from. It's hilarious when I hear people, there'll be a comment online or something and they'll be like, did you know that he filed bankruptcy, and did you know, that he had a problem with finances? Did you know he cheated on his wife? And it's like, yeah, dumbass. He tells all this stuff all the time. Like I've even up to this point, everything that I've said in this one podcast, it's for new people to get to know who you're talking to, right? Everybody that knows me, the following that we have, Misfit Nation, they've heard me say everything that I just said. They've heard me say it multiple times because that's the value of what has moved my life forward. So to further get to the point of, how this is all linked together. So then I started buying companies, and then we opened a consulting company to teach people what I've done in those companies. And then what I started to get really passionate about was that I felt like I wasn't doing enough to give back. And so that's when I really started diving into the 501c3 philanthropy and really spending a lot of my time doing things. And, you know, and I'll let you, I mean, you know, some of the stuff that I've done, you know, and I talk about, we, you know, right currently as this episode is going, I'm the CEO of Feed a Billion, feedabillion.org. And that was started by Ambush Jane and Tony Robbins at one of his seminars. And the goal is to feed 1 billion people, obviously. And that's a big passion for me because I believe there's a lot of domestic violence, which is the hat I'm wearing currently, which is a New Dawn, where it gives it a longer gap, right? We talked about me and my mom, and what my adopted father tried to do was beat that light out of me. Well, all he did was create a beast of service. Like, you know, people come at me with their little whiny baby bullshit or try to attack me on my past or whatever it is. It's like, you have no idea. From the age of 6 to 17, I was getting the shit beat out of me by a full-grown adult. Bring it on. You want to spread rumors about me? Or some of them aren't rumors. Some of them is, you know, a lot of it's actually true. You know, I always tell people that, you know, that if you hear something about me, it's probably true. And most likely a little worse, you know?
I feel the same way. Right.
That's why we're brothers. That's why we're brothers. So, you know, so he tried to beat that out of me. And what happened was now there's we're just tallying up this year what we've raised. And if we hit our mark before the end of December, we're going to be at $3 million that we've brought in to, you know, to multiple different entities. But aside from that, getting involved and being in, you know, going undercover, right? They're doing a full length movie about a mission that I went on undercover. It's the only one I talk about because that's why they brought me in. They said, Jason, we would like you to go on this particular mission. Tony Robbins went on it undercover, which you can imagine with us. You know, how do you get Tony Robbins undercover? And you know, that's for him to tell, but we did it. And they said, we want you to come on this because you have a platform and we want to get the word out so that people understand that underage sex trade is alive and well. There's 2 million underage little girls and boys around the world that people are paying 60, 70, 80 bucks a pop to have sex with them. It's disgusting. Okay. And so there was this one mission that we went on, and I was asked, when you go on this, we want you to go back out into your platform, into the realm that you know, and we want you to talk about this to raise awareness. And so that's what I've done. I've done a lot of other missions with a lot of different entities that I work with, 6 of them to be specific at this point in time in that world of human trafficking. But this particular one, they're making a full-length movie about it, and you know, and doing that thing. So that's going to change a lot of lives, you know. And going undercover, it's like, you know, we'll talk about your haters and people that want to talk shit behind your back. We'll talk about how even going undercover can be a bad thing in somebody's mind, right? And how they can bash on you for, you know, wanting to feed the hungry, and how they can bash on you for and we're going to get into that because it's amazing to me. At some points in time, I've looked at it. If I wasn't so, you know, driven and pulled towards this destiny, that I'd be like, this is not fucking worth it. You know, you go out and you put your life on the line, you put your name out that you're actually in doing this kind of stuff out into the marketplace that puts another target on your head other than the mission that you just went on to put yourself, you know, that you just put yourself in danger on. And you're going to get torn down for that. I mean, you know, that, and then it was explained to me, even Mother Teresa had a hate group, you know?
It's amazing.
So, you know, it's just, that's the world that we live in. And I think that most of us exist in another bubble where, yeah, we like to talk shit every once in a while in a joking way, but we're not out to destroy each other, you know? And we're not, you know, but we're going to talk about those things very, very specifically. And the last piece is that led into 5 years of heavy duty philanthropy. And then, like I do all the time, we get my board together, my team together, and we have the conversation. What have we learned? And what we've learned about philanthropy is that celebrity being added to it is a multiplying effect to the eyeballs and the people that pay attention to that particular subject at that particular time, right? You get somebody like The Rock, and he tweets out about hunger, you know, and says, hey, could you guys all go give $5? That is a financial boon to whoever is on the other end of that. And then inside of charity, you've got good charities that are poorly run, and you've got bad charities that are well run. You've got money that is properly applied. You've got money that is improperly applied. There's all, you know, it's just life, you know, because businesses and 501c3s are nothing more than a group of human beings that have come together around an idea. Inherently, when you get when you get one human being, what do you have? A shitload of mistakes and flaws and weaknesses and, you know, narcissism and all of the other shit that goes along with being a human being, right? So all that to be said, to say that led into saying, okay, well, what can we do to accelerate this? We took the consulting company and we put a caveat. If you're doing good on your, and I don't run it anymore, by the way, that's run by Joe and by Carlos, and they run it. I'm doing this full time now, raising money, comedy, and this podcast and whatever shows come up that we know that maybe in the future. But what we did was we said, okay, if they're already doing good work on their P&L, they're already writing checks for tubas for the local band, they're already writing a check to Cancer Society, they're already giving to their church, whatever it is, those companies we set up because our strategies work obviously well. And so we want to help them make more money and get more time so that they can do more good. So everything now is behind the point of the spear of creating a legacy, easing suffering in the world. Even on the for-profit side of the work that I do and the companies that I own, it's all behind the point of the spear of resourcing good people to do more good. And that led it. And the reason why we're doing this show, the reason why that all of this is led together is because of the pain, the mistakes, the places where people expected me to give up, to quit, to stop, because that defined me. I even put out a statement, a quote that said, the mistakes of my life do not define me. It's the exact opposite of that. They require of me to take those lessons, stop inflicting pain, and to teach those back out so that other people can learn the lesson. I put out that statement, and that's paraphrased, obviously. It's on the Bald Avenger show, or the Bald Avenger on Facebook, or wherever you're going to find us. That it's a meme with a picture on it. And I got a text from somebody who knew me back in the day that said, Jason, your past does define you, because the things that you did will forever be on your history. And I played with that idea for a second, and I thought, yeah, that's possible, you know? And it was, this person was really trying to say, Jason, stop fucking moving forward. You're making me feel bad about myself. You're doing something with your life and you're making me feel bad about myself. That's what they were saying. And that's what everybody's trying to say when they put that shit out there. They're trying to remind you. They don't want you to forget who you are. They don't want you to forget your roots. They don't want anybody. The truth is they want everybody else in the world to know you're a douchebag, so that your voice won't matter, so that your pain won't equate into easing suffering for someone else, so that you'll stop moving forward, so that you'll just die and wait for your breath to stop. That's why people do this shit. And it makes me sad. It makes me sad because I know this person, and this person knew me. And I'm never, ever going to succumb. I already know. I mean, when I did the Forbes interview, people came out of the woodwork going, did you put Jason in Forbes? Like, you let him talk, like, you've given him any kind of a platform. Did you know he did this? Did you know he did this? Did you know he did this? You know, to anyone listening to this or watching this that wants to define me by who I was, that person is dead. I wear this gift of a skull ring constantly because it reminds me that I'm dead to the person that I was yesterday. I bring with me all of the strengths and all the beauty and all the love from yesterday, and I leave where it belongs in the past, the mistakes. That's who I am. No matter what you say about me, no matter who comes out of the woodwork to point at what I've done, they're right. There was a version of me that did bad things. There was a version of me that was other than conscious. There was a version of me that valued money over integrity. There was a version of me that valued sex over monogamy. There's a version of me that existed that believed that inflicting pain was my way of getting out of my own. And that person is dead, long gone. And I can understand people that will watch this and listen to this wanting to and remembering the only version of me that they were associated to as being a douchebag. And they're right. You're right. Any comments you want to make, anything that you want to point out that I've done, anything, any way that I hurt you whatsoever, I'm looking into this screen and I'm saying, you're fucking right. I was an asshole. I was a douchebag. I was a liar. I was a cheater. I did those things, those actions that created in you or in myself a version of myself who I thought less of. And that person's dead.
How did you kill him? Because what you've taken is you've harnessed all of that energy, and it was fueled with a lot of shit that happened. And then you used it for bad, as you've already discussed. All that energy shifted out, and you were doing some bad things. You were involved in some bad stuff. But when you killed that person, that energy that's inside you had to go somewhere, and you've chosen it to be the light. How did you kill it? And how did you channel that energy and shift it towards everything at the root core of what that was for you? I think it's how everybody does it, right? It's one decision at a time. We don't understand the power of one decision. Tony Robbins, the statement that began to change my life was in his book that he said, it's in your moments of decision where your destiny is shaped. Say
right?
it one more time. Say it one more time.
It's in your moments of decision where your destiny is shaped. And I took that to heart, and it's in your moments. It's just moment by moment. Like, are you going to associate with this person? Are you going to, attack this person? Are you going to respond? Are you going to get up and get out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning to go work out? Are you going to read that book? Are you going to advance? Are you going to say, I love you instead of I hate you? Are you going to allow division to enter your heart? Are you going to allow these things? It's one decision at a time, and one person at a time, one interaction at a time, one forgiveness of yourself and of other people, one forgiveness of your past. It's one tweaking of making, again, one of the things that I learned along the way was that it's myself that holds the power to defining the things in my life. And so, you say, how or when did I kill that person? I think that person died on the cliff that day. I believe that person died, the person that had done all of those horrible things, that had caused people financial pain, that had lied, that had, cheated, that had stolen, that had inflicted pain, that had beat people up, that had done all of those things. I think that person died that day on the cliff because I was forced. I didn't think that there was I didn't think beyond that moment. I was going there to die. And then when I had to live, I was like, well, if I'm going to live, I'm fucking done living this bullshit. Yes, I fucked up. I mean, because honestly, what had driven me into that hole was guilt. It was guilt. It was the friends that I had looked them in the eye and said I was going to help, and do these things. And I was going to, and this thing that we were going to invest in together was going to be radically successful, and it not happening. It was me being in business, and it didn't, and I had to leave my daughters, a separation to my daughters and my family and my son. When all of this went down, that separation, I just was carrying around on the back of my shoulders guilt. And what was holding it there was blame. I want to say that again. The thing that was holding the guilt on my back was blame. I was blaming my adopted father. I was blaming my upbringing. I was blaming everybody. I was blaming the economy. I was blaming my ex-wife. I was blaming everybody. And so as long as I had blame in my heart, it stayed stuck to my back. I couldn't get rid of it. And anybody that attacks me and wants to blame me for the shit that happened in their life, it's the exact same thing. There's no strength in blame. There's no advancement. There's no future in blame. You know, and I could go through when I sit here and I take all of this responsibility for the shit that I've done. Guess what? 2 to tango, baby. 2 to tango. People that were getting involved in the shit that I was investing in, guess what? They had all the same fucking information that I did to say no.
Right.
Right? They had every single one of them to this day. I could go back and say, this person had taken from his father-in-law. This person had spent money that they shouldn't have out of their business. This person put it in because they were greedy as fuck. This person took money from other people to do it. I could do that with every single human being. And you know what? When I was going through all this shit with the 3-letter folks, I never pointed a finger of blame at anybody. I said, here's what I did. Here's what my intention was. And here's what my experience. I'm not a fucking rat. I'm not a fucking rat. There's a lot of other people that put money into that shit that should have been under those fucking lights besides me, that didn't ever end up under them, that had the comfort of being behind the scenes and me taking all the fucking heat.
Wow. How do you not hold on to that resentment?
It doesn't do me any good.
Of course, but that's easier said than done.
Yeah, it's easier to let go than it is to hold on because of the results that it produces. Anybody that's going to come out of the woodworks and say anything about me, trust that their life is way worse than mine. And it has nothing to do with Jason Sisneros. It has everything to do with the fact that they've given away their power into blaming somebody else. Yeah, I was there. I was involved. I take all the responsibility in the world that I should, and not one fucking ounce more. Because I can't do anything about what I did in the past except for say, I'm sorry and not do it again. And there's been no instances since every mistake I've made, except for a few. And this comes in relationship, that one I keep punching myself in the balls. But when it comes to this stuff, when it comes to business, the reason why Harvard grads trust me with their companies is because of the mistakes and me not making them twice. I memorialize them. So again, when people come at me and I've made right, or at least done the best that I could in the past 10 years since all that shit happened. It was 10 years ago that the last of this kind of stuff went down, to make amends. And a lot of them I still do business with a large portion of them, cause I don't believe that you should destroy any relationship. And usually it's the other person and their guilt and the skeletons that are in their closet, which is when they choose to destroy or to attract or to attack, It's the shit, the hand waving. I promise you, anybody that has made statements with you, right? If all they did was open the closet behind their hand waving, there's a bunch of shit in there, you know? And I've got a real solid example. This will be visual for the people that are watching. But this is the most, you'll really enjoy this. And I'm going to do my best not to show the name on it. But what I will tell you is nowadays when people attack me, I look in their closet.
Really?
Well, it's amazing how fast you chase away trolls when they start saying shit about you and you go, oh, you have a rape charge, a conviction. You have, this is the last person who decided that they wanted to attack me. This is their closet, bro. That's their closet.
So radio audience, what you're looking at, if you could ever visualize an attorney preparing for a court battle and just seeing evidence piles on the desk, That's what we just saw.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's some, I'm going to actually give you some specific shit. Oh, you're a convicted rapist. Yeah. Oh, and you're going to attack me. Oh, okay. You know, cause I'm not, by the way, that's not one of the things I've ever done. And, you know, you've stolen money from basically every one of your clients. Oh, interesting. You know, so I will not be fucking bullied out of the seat that I sit in. Won't be. If you want to say something that I've done, again, I don't know how we get any more crystal clear. I mean, I just spilled all my, my guts about everything that I've done and already in just this first episode. But I will tell you that if people want to come after me, they're gonna get a light shined in their closet. And if there's no stuff there, good. But if there is, just understand that people will know about me and they will know about you, right? So that's kind of the way that I look at it. And again, like I say, I mean, you want to take a swing at me, that's fine. I've already punched myself in the nuts more than you ever could, right? With all the guilt that goes along with it, with all the coming out and having this stuff be of records for my children to see for a lifetime. Like, there's nothing you can do to me. You know, what are you going to do? You're going to make the audience hate me and take away my microphone. You can't do that. You can't do that. I own this microphone.
That's right.
And I could pay my internet bill.
Isn't that beautiful?
It is beautiful.
Let me ask you something. You brought up your kids. What is that feeling like to know that your children know everything and they love you and respect you and admire you?
Damn it. I'll tell you, we're going to get into this later on, but you asked, again, we were driving towards where the Bald Avenger came from.
Right.
So we're up to the edge of why it exists, and let's jump over it. Okay. Because there was an exercise done, and I can't remember where I did it, what event it was at, where we went to our deathbed and then a little bit beyond, right? Where we were witnessing our own funeral. And the only thing that I cared about seeing at my funeral was my children laughing about the stories of the time that we spent together and being proud of the Cisneros name. And having a standard to live up to for their own lives that they could look up to. And so every decision I make now, and I mean, I know it took me 33, 34 years. This is why parenting is so powerful. It's so important for people to understand, whether it's church or a good father, a good mother. I didn't know, these things. I had to learn it from people. I had to come across it on accident. I had to know that the pain that I was inflicting, the decisions that I was making had second and third level consequences to them. And now I make decisions differently. That's why I say, I mean, you can attack the old me and it's not going to hurt me at all because that person's dead. All you're doing is attacking a carcass. You know what I mean? Because the new me doesn't want to embarrass my kids. Yeah. The new me doesn't want to embarrass my mom. The new me doesn't want to embarrass my friends. The new me doesn't want to have to have people that love me make excuses for me. And that comes from learning and looking past my death and seeing that I'm still going to matter when I'm not breathing. and that I'm either going to keep easing, like I'm going to create a momentum that's going to ease suffering, or it's going to continue creating suffering. And I've created enough fucking suffering. It's 10 years later from the last time that I honestly, genuinely feel like I inflicted pain knowingly. Right. And it's been 10 years removed from that, and I'm still paying the price. I will probably still pay the price up until the day I die.
Yeah.
And the consequences of those mistakes and the people that I've hurt, thinking I knew better. But when I look down on my funeral from all of that time past, I see my kids laughing, and that's why I took the comedy route. That's why this show is going to be, it's not fucking funny right now because I keep bawling my fucking eyes out, but you know, but I think at the end of the day, this is the genuine desire for me, is for them to have joy in their heart, you know, and to know that they had a dad that loved them, and that they had a dad that really loved those moments of connection and taking the pain that I've gone through as a kid myself, and being able to have them not face that from their dad, to not have it coming from the hands of the man that was supposed to protect them. And to have them understand and know that they're absolutely loved unconditionally. Nothing that I see from that perspective has anything to do with the size of my audience. Nothing that I see from that perspective has anything to do with the size of my bank account. Nothing where I live, the size of my house, the car that I drive, the vacations I've been on, the influence that I have, the power that I have. None of that perspective comes from that. It's who I am to them as an individual now.
Yeah.
So back to your original question, which was, you know, that exercise where you're looking back on your life, and then on your deathbed, and then, you know, the year before you're as you're dying, or you got sick, or the 5 years prior to that, the 10 years prior to that, that eventually came to, all right, I've created some success. I'm doing some good things with philanthropy. Now what? If I had Mickey's magic wand and could wave it over my life, what do I want to create? And how does what I create become in alignment with what I see from the other side of my grave? Wow. And so, you know, the old me, like anybody that knows me from back in my gangbanging days and drug dealing days and all that kind of shit, if they saw tears in my eyes right now, my fucking nickname was Psycho, bro. Like that, they would be like, who the fuck is this pussy here? You know? You know? And, you know, so that led into, okay, you know, let's have some fun. Like, whatever it is, I'm 47 years old. Like, you know, if I have 10 years left, if I have 5 years left, if I have 6 months left, if I have 6 hours left, what did I do with that 6 hours? You know, and how did it add value to the bank of that 3-part version of who I wanted to be for my kids on the other side? And, you know, I'm eternally sorry for the pain that I've caused in my life. It is, you know, there's times when I think about it, and, you know, and you think about sometimes that you lived through where you could have killed somebody else, and, you know, and you have these cringeworthy moments, you know what I mean? Where you're just sitting there, and even the thought of what you did or what you said, you go, it just like, and that's something that the people that have made these kind of mistakes, that we're going to have to live with for the rest of our life, you know, but it doesn't have to control the rest of our life. And I think that as I've done this as an experiment for the last 2 years, the one thing that keeps coming to me is that, Jason, the more you put yourself out there, the more you give me permission to live, to start living again, to continue living, to, you know, to do those things. And so that led into like even the visualization of the logo. I've never cared. You've seen my biggest company's logos. They're letters. Like, there's zero thought that goes into them. Zero. And yet the Bald Avenger, you know, there's a huge story. My daughter, when she was 4 years old, we were at the zoo, and we were going by, and she looked at, and she goes, "Daddy, it's you." And she pointed in, it was the silverback gorilla thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So now every time, you know, she sees a gorilla, she's like, "Daddy, it's you. Daddy, it's you." So since she was 4 years old. And then the symbolism behind a silverback gorilla, and what I will do to you if you fuck with those that I love. If you want to interrupt me trying to feed my family, right? If you want to interrupt or try to touch somebody that I love or do damage to them, it's a red silverback gorilla. That's the transformation that happens. We call it, you know, it's the Bald Avenger because, you know, by day I'm a bald, mild-mannered businessman. You know, and so it's the other side, and he's holding the scales of justice, because there is always two sides to a story. And right now we live in a day and age. Why does the Bald Avenger exist? We live in a day and age where we've got, let's just take Republicans and Democrats,
right,
as a metaphor for what's going on in the world, and liberal and conservative, right? And how they're attacking each other to destroy each other. And they don't realize that it's the tension in the middle. That's what makes this country great. It's not that we agree. It's that we biologically, if you get into the studies, and we're going to do this, I've got a neurosurgeon, I've got a biologist, I've got people that are going to talk to us about this, that are going to come on and tell us that it's in our DNA, whether we're going to be liberal or conservative. It's in our DNA.
Really?
So it's almost not a choice. There's some choice, but it's almost not a choice. And what people call fairness, right? The word fairness is, consider that the middle ground, right? So if you've got left, you've got progressive, and you've got conservative, there's a middle ground, and that's that tension that's in between that. And on one side of it, this line is called fairness.
Wow.
And progressives or Democrats or liberals, and we're not talking the far extremes of either one. We're also not talking about the ones that are lying and using these things as puppets and trying to divide us for profit. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about real people like you and I that got to live with the bullshit of the elites and the people that are power mongering and trying to turn this into an oligarchy, right? So I'm talking about that word fairness. People on this side look at fairness and they go, fairness is that we all, yeah, some people may have more, but we all kind of share, right? It's a family or like a tribe sort of mentality. And then on the other side, fairness on this side says, whatever you go out and you kill, you get to eat. And if you decide to give that to somebody else, right, that's up to you. And that's fairness, is that it's the strong, that's the basic. I'm breaking it down way, way narrow, but in the middle of it can be, yes, individual, yes, tribe. But in history, if either one of those wins, bad things happen. Over here, right? Absolute structure, absolutism, you end up with Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
On this side over here, you end up with Venezuela.
And describe what that is for people that don't know.
Socialism, right? It's what's supposed to be anchored as socialism. And so our world, this thing called United States, it works because of the tension in the middle. And it works because we take a little bit over here and a little bit over here, and we come up with a better solution in the middle. And that's what people are crying out for. They're tired of the late night comics tearing down Trump and his supporters and his followers. You know, the people on the left that are doing that they're almost tired of their own voice, right? And the people on the left are tired of being attacked and blah, blah, blah. And so because it's gotten into destruction, and if we ever destroy one side or the other, if either one of these sides ever wins, right, and completely destroys or quiets the other side of it, we're all in trouble. And I don't care which side it is. So the Bald Avenger, scales of justice, the answer is never, ever going to come from an extreme position, above, below, right, left. That's the scales of justice. The answer is in the middle. And a lot of times you hear people say the only thing in the middle of the road is called roadkill. Because there's no profit, evidently, in the middle of being a reasonable human being these days.
Well, you kind of disproved that.
Well, yes, and we'll see. Because I have people on the extreme right and left that hate my guts because of this message. Because what happens is when we all understand it's not about destruction, it's about advancement and progression and incremental improvement based on our differing conversations coming together for a better solution. I should never get everything I want, and you should never get everything you want. Right? It should be the best parts of those that come together. And so what happens when you do that is we as a people, the Misfit Nation, wakes up and goes, you can't control me because I don't hate that person anymore. I don't hate that person anymore. We may disagree vehemently and scream and get spit all over each other's face, but at the end of it, we're going to hug it out and go, thanks, bro. You know, thanks, sister, whatever. And that's a scale of justice. And it's that, you know, anytime somebody comes in and tries to be that extreme right or the left, or tries to attack me or tries to attack anybody in my Misfit Nation, Daddy's got resources.
Yes, he does. I remember there was a time that you went to bat for me when you didn't have to. I'll never forget it. Like, I want to reiterate to the audience, I've been very, very blessed with, I watched from the outside for a while, and you watched me. But then I got to see how you were, you know, basically everything that you put yourself out there to be, I got to see that you were genuinely that way, even when you don't have to be. When you know no one's around. But the loyalty that day, I didn't want to call it loyalty because you had every reason not to stand to have my back. But I'll never forget it. And I'll never forget either the other time is that when I was interviewing you, this is before we were actually friends, I was interviewing you. And I shared some information with you because I was inspired by watching you on stage in something. And I took a big leap of faith into stepping into my truth, but I was like, still doing this I was still covering up. And for some reason that day, I was so inspired by what you said on stage about just letting it out, just letting your truth sing. And I shared something with you that at that time I'd only shared with a very small select group of people. And you looked at me in the eyes and you didn't know me. And you told me you loved me. Never, up until that moment, I had never felt safe around a man, ever. Never had a male role model, influence, nothing. I'll never forget that we could have never been friends after that, but I will never forget that moment. And so something I want to the reason I'm bringing this up to the audience is that what you guys are going to experience on this podcast, on this live stream, is a unique kind of truth in that it is completely unfiltered and it's completely from love. Like everything he shares is true. So when he's talking about walking that middle road in the scales of justice, and you have to know that it's true. It's very, very real. And you know what he addresses and he has on his Facebook Lives and what he will do on this show is really simple because it's fair and it's coming from love and it's about forgiveness and it's about acceptance. And I'm a living, breathing proof of that by my relationship with Jason now. So I appreciate that about you, and I appreciate that you're just throwing common sense into the plans, and I hope that this continues to grow the way it should, so the world can start to see, what the hell are we fighting about? Politically, what are we fighting about? Why are we judging people that have bad past? You're proof, I'm proof that you can use it for good. So I love that. So politically, though, I want you to go a little bit further into this. Like, I've seen you say complimentary things about Trump and take a beating for it, but I've also seen you be very critical as well. You are the most liberal conservative I know. Do you care to explain it a little bit further detail about that the liberal side of you versus the conservative side, which to me just mashes up and is common sense. It is fair. And is really getting back down to some very biblical principles. But explain to the audience your liberal conservatism.
My liberal conservatism. Is that going to be a movement that we have?
I don't know. Is that a real thing? Did I make it up? But that's what I think about when I think about you, is that I know the issues that you take on, and that is as a liberal, but you're very conservative in other ways.
Yeah. So well, the way I mean, the best way I can explain it for me is that I'm a centrist, right? I'm a pragmatist. And I am conservative in certain areas. Like I believe, and remember that I break it down much different than all of these dumbasses that are trying to assign, like, oh, he's Hitler. No, he's Hitler. Like, everybody's assigning this Hitler fucking thing. And nobody in the United States that I know of has mass murdered 6 million people, yet. Okay. Could possibly happen, but I don't think it's going to be Trump, and I damn straight know it wasn't Obama. Right. And you're right. I take a beating. I say nice things about Obama because he did some good things.
Yes, he did.
He also did some radically fucking damaging things. But if you go back through history, every single president has, just like every single person listening to this podcast has. And we want to sit there and it seems like we've forgotten. And remember, I don't ascribe myself to any specific religion, but throwing the first fucking stone is something that should make a radical comeback. That's a glass house you live in, asshole. Right? Oh, you're going to attack Trump, a guy that has sacrificed everything that he's got. You're going to go up there and to get beaten down by a news media that used to love his ass, by Democrats that used to love his ass, and to get called everything in the world and get no support.
None.
And you want to tear him down? How about you go take a shot at that shit? Oh, you want to tear down Obama? Oh, okay. How about the beating that he took and the kids and all? I understand everybody's got a leaning one way or the other. I understand. But whether you support, if you live in this country, you should support our president because they're leading the fucking ship that you happen to be on.
Yeah.
It's a common sense thing to me. And I know that other people have heard that viewpoint, but I'm not going to destroy somebody because they're blue or red or purple or yellow or orange or black or white or whatever, which leads me into the other side of this, which is people that make determinations about other human beings based on the pigmentation of their skin. That's the dumbest. Like I had a racist upbringing. My adopted father was a very white supremacist sort of guy, and I didn't know until later that I'm black, I'm Hispanic, I'm Native American, all of these other things. I used to get beat up by a Mexican gang, I used to get beat up by him. And I was like, I just want to go back and tell him, that, hey, you're beating up one of your own.
I look more black than you do.
but I've got black, I've got Samoan, yes, I do. I have English, I have Irish, you know, there's this mixture of stuff that I am now that I know, because I did a blood test a couple years ago, but I was raised in that, and it's never made any sense to me how pigmentation links in any way, shape, or form to behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because your behavior comes out of your spirit and your brain. And if you listen to, which I have with Martin Luther King is one of my heroes, and you listen to his I Have a Dream speech, which I've damn near memorized, and you listen to the 3 premises that he puts forth, we're there. And nobody wants to, they don't go back and parse the words and see what he was saying. We're there. And now that we're there, what we want people to do is feel guilty because they have white skin. Really? We want to stop one kind of racism and start another one? Yeah, fuck off. You know, how about no? There's nothing that you or your listeners or I or anything, we can't do anything about this. We were born with it. We can modify it. We can do a few things, but we can't do anything with, like, why, you know, there's enough shit that we have to look in the mirror and go, hey, you could not be an asshole today, or hey, you could improve your vocabulary today, or you could take some personal fucking responsibility today, rather than going, I'm looking in the mirror and I have white guilt, you know, or you know, I feel bad about myself because I have dark skin, or because I'm, you know, whatever. Like, you can't do shit about it. Don't fucking pay attention to it. Nor should anybody else. I think we're seeing the death of racism. I think that we're seeing the death of racism, and it's dying. It wants to keep coming back, right? It wants to keep like burying its head. Like, I think we're seeing the death of racism because, you know, there's a bunch of fucking idiots that believe that it has something to do with behavior or thought processes or intellect or IQ. And those people will die out because they're fucking stupid. Okay? They'll fall off of ladders because they didn't anchor it to the fucking wall. You know what I mean? They'll stab themselves in the eye with one of their fucking motorized toothbrushes. Like, these are stupid people. Okay? So the politics, you get
the visual is just killing me.
Right. Because that's what'll happen. They'll eventually die out, and they're just, you know, I think they'll always be dumb people. Like I heard a long time ago, you can't fix stupid, but we obviously know somebody that speaks in racist terms or feels racist. They're speaking that they're stupid. They're like, they might as well put a sign on their head. Oh, skin pigmentation matters to my brain. Okay, got it. Check. Right. So, political leanings. Yes, I do lean. I'm center right. Is how I sort of describe my politics. I do not give a shit what people do in their own bedroom. Matter of fact, kind of want to watch most of it, you know?
Me too.
You know, so I don't care about that. I don't, you know, I believe that racism is stupid. I think that, you know, separating ourselves by dumb things is dumb. And I think dumb people buy into it because they're not smart enough to think for themselves. I believe that our future belongs to the people who can process clearly biased information from 2 different entities like Fox News and CNN. It's the metaphor people use these days, right? And to be able to discern what is truth and what isn't. You know, we have a big bull, especially women, right? And I'm proud to say that in my businesses and in our group of Misfit Nation, they're primarily driven by very, very brilliant, bright women who are powerful and have their own voices, and they're learning how, you know, they're learning and feeling more and more confident in their path. That they're leading the way. Guys have become pussies in my mind, you know? Yeah. And they've become, you know, the guys that say they're not a pussy, they're beating their women. And they think that beating a woman makes them a tough guy. I think it makes them more of a pussy, right? That's my opinion. I think that true masculinity serves, it protects. It stands in front of it's the fucking red ape, you know? Mm-hmm. And the shield, we didn't get done talking about it, but the shield behind the red ape is a nickname that I got given by my domestic violence ladies, Kat Dawn at A New Dawn, they started calling me the Shield. And so that ended up on, it's very representative of the work that I do in domestic violence. Right. And I'm very, very proud of that. And so being a masculine man these days, it's like, you can't open a door. It's very confusing. Look, I get it. I get it. You people are supposed to feel bad because they have white skin. People are supposed to feel bad because they have black skin. People are supposed to feel bad because they have a penis now, and it's just, to me, why don't we worry about shit we can actually deal with? Transgender, they can do whatever they want. Like, they have a decision to make. That's their world that they've got to live in, and God bless them. I love them too. Like, what somebody's going through as an individual, you can't lump them into groups. You can't say all black, all white, all Republicans, all Democrat, because we're all individuals. And how I like to be judged in my life is, how was my interaction with you, right? And how I like to judge other people is, how did you treat me when nobody was looking, to your point, right? And that's very, very important. So my politics and my comedy, to be really honest with you, you've seen my routine, and my routine was way more right than a lot of comedy you hear. We attacked, we made fun of, not attacked. We made fun of toxic masculinity. Another made up, right? Another made up bullshit thing that we should hate ourselves over. How do I measure in my bloodstream how toxic my masculinity is? Okay, let me be miserable because I have toxic masculinity again, right? Or we talked about white privilege. We talked about white privilege. We talked about racism. We talked about these things, and people laughed. And that room that we were in was primarily left-leaning folks. And
big time. And
we had a great time, and that's where because anywhere you go, you can look anywhere and you can find yourself a left-leaning or left radical comedian. There's not very many people like me that can do comedy that's center right. That's, to me, it's, even not even labeling it. It's just common sense.
Yeah, I was about to say, remember how you were $2.5 million in debt?
Yeah.
You had that to get to zero. When you were talking about it, right? Yeah, I really think that you were just a little bit past zero when it comes to right wing.
Yeah.
Because you're still, again, common sense. You have a giving heart.
Yeah.
You have a servant's mentality.
And you nailed it, brother. Like, I've had multiple experiences, and it's been one mentor at a time, one person who seeded into me. And it was witnessing. I didn't have a father figure that was anything other than beat the shit out of the problems that are in front of you, right? Yeah. Fuck other people before they fuck you, because that's the way the world works, son. That was it. Like, that's what I brought into my 30s, to be honest with you, and then it was watching Tony, and it was watching, people that I respect and that I look up to, and that loved, and watching people forgive. Like, people would screw them over in business, and I would want to bury them in the fucking desert because I got fucked over, and watching my mentors go, Jason, don't do that. Like, there's a lot more stuff. And it doesn't mean that I don't get angry. It doesn't mean that I don't get upset, but I can tell you that I spend 90+% of my time with a smile on my face these days. And the reason is because I love my life. And because I love the people that I'm around. I love the work that I get to do, right? It's not easy. There's a lot of shit. There's a lot of shit storms that go on in business and in trying to break through here, and the people that looks, to be threatened. This is my first podcast, and you have no idea how many fucking haters that I have that are in the business that are upset that I'm coming in. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to me. So, and we, we'll get to that again, but the point being is that my politics is one of common sense. I do lean right. But I do have a lot of very liberal viewpoints of this world. And I do not hate my Democrat or liberal or progressive family. It's all because we're all family. Whatever you do affects me. Whatever I do affects you.
And I've seen you have it out with people too. And it's all
I'm not going to be soft. We're going to battle.
I love that.
We're going to battle, and then we're going to hug it out at the end.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to hug it out at the end. And that's going to be what you're going to see from this show. We will yell and scream and laugh and cry and do all of that kind of stuff. But at the end of it, I have to be the example that I want to see in the world. We've heard that a million fucking times. And yet most people, you know, not most, but a lot of people decide to go out and make their example of a douchebag. So you want to go be be a douchebag, you're experiencing and attracting and enhancing and adding to more douchebaggery in the world.
Yep. One of the other things that I know about you is your insane amount of energy. It's one thing coming on a podcast, and we're going on over 2 hours now, but it's one thing to do a podcast and have energy, and then you go away and you take a nap. I actually hopped on the session early. So I saw you in the boardroom strategizing with your team, saw the whole, like, everything mapped out. So I know how much work that took. I know the fact that you were up super early, starting your day, starting your routine, you know, and then I also know that you're at the gym sometimes at 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Well, you know, the session we're doing tonight, it's the session that we're doing is another 3-hour session around business.
Beautiful, all things that are exhausting, all things that are tiring, because I mean, doing a show, doing a podcast, doing a broadcast is exhausting for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. You're doing this all day long, exerting a lot of energy, putting out a lot of energy into other people, using your brain. You're solving problems, you're easing suffering. How in the hell do you do it? Because a lot of people that have had the past and so a lot of the struggles, you know, they've used drugs and alcohol to kind of like numb that pain, get through. They've hurt their bodies, they're in bad health. You are a freaking machine. Like, how are you doing that? Like, what do you do to take care of yourself? Like, I know that health and fitness is important to you, but for you, it's vitality. That's the word that you like to use. What is vitality to you, and how in the hell are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah, it's a great question. And you know, when we started talking about what we wanted, what were the segments that we really wanted to dive into, you know, so the show is not, I don't want this show to be a wandering generality. I want people to be able to come here and know what they get, right? Right. And so they're going to get a little politics, right? They're going to get from my perspective, right? And I'm going to make fucking fun of it, right? They're going to get some philanthropy, because that's who I am. It's what I want to spend time doing, and I'm going to make fun of that shit too, right? They're going to get some business, because that's my background. They're going to get some ways to, business for business owners, or how to increase or enhance your ability to be able to attract revenue or higher wages for yourself, right? We're going to get a little bit of that, because that's who I am. And I'm going to make fucking fun of that too, because I've got years of comedy from my business experience. You've been in a couple of them, you know what I mean? So, and then the fourth part was, we started out and it came out as health, right? It came out as fitness, and it didn't set right. Like, words matter to me. Mm-hmm. You know, words matter to me, and it didn't set right. And then I started thinking about my own obsession with my health. And I started thinking about my obsession with my fitness. And it comes down to taking in it's just exactly like the Misfit Nation. We take in a lot of information, right? I have a very clear outcome of, I want to optimize my health, my energy, my mental clarity, so that I can perform at the top notch from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. And I want my sleep to be restorative. I'm very specific about the words that I use, because people are like, I want to be healthy. I want to be fit. But what does that mean? Right? Yeah. What does that mean? And I've got a lot of empathy in this area, because I have been damaged. My health has been damaged. My vitality, my energy levels have been low. Being addicted to the things that not having good food, going days without food when I was homeless, all of this stuff. There was times in my life when it wasn't optimal. Mm-hmm. And so I started thinking about it, and we scratched it and scratched it, and finally came up with the word vitality. And vitality means taking all of the known and cutting edge information that exists out there, including the doctor that I work with from New York, including, what I call I've got another woman that I work with, I call my witch doctor, chiropractic, muscle, cryo, all of it, right? And just testing it to see, can I operate at a little higher, like not drinking, right? Or drinking less, or only drinking at specific times, reducing my sugar intake, all of these things. What's enhancing my ability to be able to exude my energy out into the universe, to be able to make a difference in other people's lives, right? Because in business, you have to move very stubborn people who think they know it all from this place to this place. You have to move them there. And then not only that, but you have to let them think that it was their idea in the first place. Okay. Because you're dealing with big egos when you're dealing with business owners. And that's the thing that keeps them broke most often. The great thing with me is I had my ego beaten out of me with bad decisions and being a shitty business owner. I had no ego left. I'm like, teach me, because I don't want to go broke again. 3 times was enough, that'll destroy you. So vitality for me means, how can we optimize our individual health at such a level that we're doing the best that we can with the day that we have in front of us, right? And that's going to bring in different modalities. I'm going to bring in some way out people. I'm going to bring in some people that are very mainstream. I'm going to bring in alternative health. I'm going to bring in all kinds of people to talk about the things that I do specifically, and some things that are going to be coming in the near future. I happen to have a lot of access to people that, that through MIT or through Harvard or through Yale or through these other places that have a lot of really cutting edge information in this area that a lot of people don't see and and can't have access to. Right. So we're going to bring that through, because this podcast is free. This podcast is going to be something anybody can download and listen to. And so I want to bring the best information in those 4 segments that I possibly can, that people don't have to pay for.
Wow. That matters, because there's a lot of misinformation and out there. Google is an amazing thing. And it's also the worst thing that's ever been created in a way, because coconut oil's gonna give you a heart attack. Like that, when that came out, I remember having I almost had a panic attack.
Right.
Going, oh my God, coconut oil is gonna kill me. I freaking would bathe. I cook eggs in it. I love that stuff. And it's just crap. It's not true. I hope. But I mean, and that's just one example of how much misleading information is out there. And to have somebody that actually knows, that has something that's working for them, to bring in those resources to educate the audience, I think is amazing. That's worth listening. And this is not some Dr. Oz bullshit either. And no offense, because if Dr. Oz comes on your show, I'm going to apologize. But he's full of shit. Like the doctor's TV show, you pay to get your product on there and have them talk about it. It's called product placement. It's a huge business.
Yeah. It's
a huge business. You can't trust what they're saying. You can't. I'm sorry. And I'm hoping I'm not ruining anything for you in the future here. But in my opinion, just because because I've had products go on that show, I know how it works.
Yeah.
So to have real information from people, like real legitimate gurus, to have them come and educate, I think is amazing. I love that you're doing this. It actually surprised me when you told me you were going down this route. I'm stoked about that.
Yeah, it's something that I'm passionate about, and it's made a big difference in my life. And we're doing the same thing in all of those segments. There's a lot of business gurus out there. We need people to know what not to spend their energy and time and effort going after. We need people in philanthropy. There's bad fucking charities out there. There's bullshit. There's bullshit artists that exist in that world like you wouldn't believe. Yeah. Also. So in all areas, in all 4 of those areas, we're going to overlay it with comedy. I'm going to have a great time on all of these shows. We're going to have really powerful conversations. I'm not going to let people slide with the surface answers that they give on other stuff, because I don't live in a surface level world anymore. I used to care about, what I drove and who, and blah, 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 but none of that matters to me. And I don't think it matters to most people. The people that what size your house or how much money you have or, all of that kind of stuff, they're fucking douchebags. Like if they care where you live as an indicator of your heart, that's not the people I want to hang out with. You know, I've met some of the best people in jail, and I've met some of the worst people in their mansions, you know, and vice versa. I've met some really great wealthy people, and I've met some really shitty people that belong in jail, you know. So it's an individual relationship, and that's who I want to bring on my show. People that are real, people that are offering real value to the something that's different. There's 5 million freaking podcasts out there. I don't want mine to be another one of them. I want this to be the one where you come, you have a great time, and oh, by the way, you learn something along the way, and you got to forgive yourself a little bit that day.
Yeah.
So vitality is a big piece of that. It's huge.
I agree. And that is one of the areas you really are bringing, like you could do just a business podcast. You could do that and fill it up with content, because I've seen your business lives, and when you can just go, and it's something you know a lot about, you're very passionate about teaching people the right way, knowing that there's an order for everything. I've seen you do that. I've seen you do it with truth. I've seen you do it with charities. And the fact that you're bringing all of this together, I think there's so much value. And that, to me, is what's separating this podcast from everything else. But that's from me, an outsider. To you, why is this different? Why is the Bald Avenger podcast and the Bald Avenger experience, why is that so different than everything else out there right now?
I think everything's been done except for my life. I can't claim the brilliance of thinking that. I got it actually in my research about comedy, right? I mean, one of the things, I think it was Jerry Seinfeld that was asked the question, like, you know, how does your jokes, how do they not get old? It's like, you know, everything's been done in comedy except for my life, right? And so everything's been done in podcasting. Everything's been done in broadcasting. Everything. I have a fairly unique life. You know, it's been fairly unique, you know? And I think that everything's been done except for my life. And that means I can bring something different to it. I'm in a position, like, I'm not doing this for influence or money. That's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this to build a bigger audience so that we can do more good, so that we can, you know, have a bigger audience for charity. Like that's what my life, like I belong to the Misfits.
Yes.
To take a sentence out of the greatest movie I've ever seen about Freddie Mercury, called Bohemian Rhapsody. You know, he said when he was being right at the beginning of his career, he said, you know, we belong to the misfits, to the outcasts. And I believe that my life has been lived in such a way that the blessings that I now claim as my own, that I belong legitimately to the misfits, the people that are trying to do good in this world, not the people that are trying to be antisocial and like all, but the people that have genuinely made mistakes, and they genuinely want to reveal those mistakes so that they can become their strengths, so that we can improve this world. This world, I believe, if it ended today, is worse off. If we were all to die, if this generation was all to die, it's worse off for our kids for the first time, I think, in the history of the world. It's going to be worse off because of the selfish immediacy, world that we live in. I got to get mine, and I got to get it right now. We're forgetting, that the idea of being a good steward is leaving it better off than we found it. And we're not doing that right now. It's not happening. And so that's what this movement is about. That's what the Bald Avenger is here for. It's to fight for those opportunities. And it's for those opportunities to face those things and be able to leave a better world when we're done. And so now instead of looking at my life like I used to when I caused all that pain, I look at it like I'm the grandfather building the Sistine Chapel. I get to build the foundation, maybe some of the structure, maybe a little bit of the roof, but I'm gone. Like, it goes on to the Son, right? It goes on to the Father, and then that Father gets to finish the roof and then puts the outside of it and gets to start putting together the interior, right? And then they die. And then it's the grandson that ultimately gets to get in and put the paint on it and go, you know, and have people come up to him and say, you know, oh my gosh, your grandfather never got to see this. Yes, he did. Wow. I see a better future. I see and I see my implementation. I see my place in it. I don't see an overblown view of who I am in it, but I'm a piece of it. And me making this decision to do this and to expose myself the way that I have, and to open myself up to criticism and to attacks and to already death threats for the work that I've done, and already the criticism I've got from the people that have known me in the past, and all of the shit that I've already gone through to get here. It's like ping right the fuck off me. You can't touch me. You can't touch me, you know, because I believe that I'm here for a higher purpose than myself. And that means that I will always, always have an air of protection around me.
Mm-hmm.
And that protection goes away, by the way, if this ever becomes about me.
That's true. And it's really easy for someone to say, and I'm going to relate it this way. Oh, he's calling himself the Bald Avenger. Well, guess what? I call myself the world's mayor.
Right.
And the reason why is because I believe everybody gets to win. And it's creating the space for everyone to win, including people that have been pieces of shit like I used to be. It's the idea of, it's not just me, the world's mayor. The idea is to influence and inspire other people to do the same thing so that there's a ripple effect. Being a part of the Misfit Nation. Like, it's the Bald Avenger, and you the Misfit Nation are the people, they called themselves that. Like, they named it. You didn't do that.
Right.
They did, but the whole point is for the Bald Avenger to create this ripple effect of showing it's okay to be a misfit. It's okay that you did some bad shit, but you get to start using that bad shit to fuel a beautiful purpose, to help set other people free, to help empower other people to live their truth and to turn away from that life they used to have and start living free. Start living going, hey, you could take that beating you got from your father. You can take that molestation. You can take that addiction. You can take that and fuel it for something that changes the world, whether it's a small part or a big part. The whole point is to inspire others to do the same. It's not an egocentric thing to call yourself the Bald Avenger. First of all, it came from his daughter.
Anybody that thinks it is, here's the greatest part. Shut the fucking podcast off and never watch me again.
It's true.
You know, it's easy. Like, I don't understand all the energy people get it. Like, did you know that on Superman, da-da-da-da-da-da? It's like, get a fucking life. Like, Jay, watch Batman, you know? I don't understand all the energy that people go into bitching about people that are on life. It's like, if that's your level of life, like, here's the thing that we've got to do. We've got to band together. What I love about the Misfit Nation is when somebody comes in and attacks, they go, pew! Like, you're saying shit about yourself. You're reflecting poorly on yourself. If you are such a minuscule, tiny little maggot of a human being that the only skill set you have is attacking other people's attempt at making the world a better place, fuck you. Go back to your closet, you scummy freaking asshole. Go there, stay there. Turn me off, because I don't have the patience for it, and I don't have to put up. You don't want to be my fan. Oh, boo-hoo. You're going to fucking dislike, or you're not going to like me or whatever. I don't give a shit. It doesn't mean anything to me. I'm not monetizing my fucking interaction here by if you like me or not. I don't care. You know, this is part of the first time I've said it, is that I don't care. I care deeply, but I don't care about those people who refuse to look at themselves before they come and attack me.
Yeah, that's true. And the beauty of the Misfit Nation too is if you were to take everybody and that you were to put their problems in front of them, like we're all sitting in a line and we all here's our problems. And if you were to look at it and have the opportunity to judge, you would have every piece of ammunition you need to judge. Yet the Misfit Nation uses all of that to go, I love you. And I recognize what you're doing with that now.
Don't do it anymore.
Don't do it. Yeah, definitely don't do it anymore.
Don't do it anymore, because that'll get you ejected from the Misfit Nation. You
Yeah.
come in and you get some sympathy, you get some loving, you get some, and then if it starts to be, oh, it's all about the attention, you're not going to last long, because your story is just a story.
Yeah. And it's amazing how the influences trickled down, where people really do. It's not just a following of Jason and the Bald Avenger. Everyone in that group that I've noticed, there's an accountability. Like, everyone holds each other accountable to what you just said.
Even me. How many times you see people on there go, Jason, you need to eat your own fucking dog food in one fashion or another, right?
Yeah.
They're like, I thought you said this. And I either go, fuck, you're right. Or here's why it's different, right?
Right. But that's beauty. And even in doing that, there's an authenticity and a genuine loving nature to all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's inspiring. And like, you talk about leaving a legacy, like, I cannot even think about, like, when was the last time somebody was so proud to be a misfit? Like, you've made being a misfit for good this amazing thing. I that alone, I mean, there's so many things that I've learned over the last 2 years of knowing you. And like, for a year of that was more just outside watching, but the last year getting to truly know you, like, there's a lot of lessons I've learned. But the biggest, it always goes back to that conversation we had on my show. And you looked at me and you said, you're not broken. And that's sometimes hard for us in the audience that are listening right now, that not only had stuff happen to them, did a lot of bad stuff to other people, but also hurt themselves. It's hard for some of us to look at us and go, I'm not broken. I'm not broken.
Bro, you know why? That's why I know that's so hard, is because I spent the biggest portion of my life thinking that I was defective.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I spent the biggest portion of my life thinking that I was defective. And even the people that, that attack me, there's people that I used to say, that they just, sometimes they don't, because again, the position I'm in, it's a protective position. I try to protect people sometimes against destroying their own businesses. Right. And
Right.
sometimes, I have to stand in between them and destroying their own fucking company.
Yeah.
And part of it, and then I look at it and I feel so sad for them. I don't stay in it, but I feel so sad for them when I pour my heart and soul into somebody and they've just been their whole life. I mean, some of the biggest mistakes that I've ever made, brother, is intervening in somebody's karma. And I can think of 3 very, very specific, situations where I stepped in, was helping this guy with his business. And again, the 3 people or the 4 people that I'm going to talk about right now are all, by the way, the loudest critics of me behind my back, not to my face, behind my back. Okay. So normally we do background checks and stuff before we work on companies just to find out who they are. My heart was to serve and to help. We took on this one business and, got into it and started to see all kinds of, mistakes, which we go in and we fix. That's why we exist in the first place. And we didn't do the background check and so on and so forth. Well, come to find out that, that this person that was doing this work, when the background check actually came through, was operating the business under a false different name, right? Because they had done time for killing their girlfriend's son. And that person then went, and I was like, okay, trying to understand and trying to not judge and trying to be in that place of love. What can I do to support? And then being like, you know what? It's just that there wasn't a decision yet to stop making the choices that had put that person in that place.
Right.
And so then backing out, and then to find out later that this is a person that's like, oh, we brought Jason in and blah, 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 blah. And to have them talking shit. are you serious? Like, are you fucking serious? Like we rescued that, and actually not only that, but took a division out of it with some great people and actually made some money with that division because I was managing it. So, you know, then there's another story, you know, one of them we all, even to this day, brother, when I say I get heart sucked into things, right? And my team, they've built up this wall so that they can do a little bit of due diligence before I go all in on something. You know, went in on another all in on something that I thought was really, really amazing, you know, and help them have their best experience ever that they've ever had. And probably, you know, I don't know, again, this isn't an ego-based thing, but you get in there, you do it, you find out why, and the decisions and the repetitive actions that they take while they're in there. And the fact that they said that they were doing all this good, really what they were doing good for was their own wallet. Yeah. So I have to extricate myself out of that, right? Because I don't want to destroy anybody on the way out. And trust me, in all four of these scenarios, I have tons and tons of ammunition, right? To be able to publicly destroy these people. And I don't want to do that. But it's to say that when this happens to you, and as it happens to me, that person went on to talk shit about me again behind my back. When probably one of the biggest impacts of the organization, the third one is hilarious, because it was somebody that I worked with, a friend of mine that I'd known for 5 years, never did any business together, just kind of watched what this person did. And, you know, and then saw some things that just, we weren't like close friends. We just kind of like ended up at different places and so on and so forth. But anyways, got involved. He said, look, I'm in trouble. I need some help with my business. And so again, heart-centered, coming in, looking at it, seeing that the reason why the company was always in that same position was because of the decisions that this person keeps making, right? Mm-hmm. And then stepping in, and there was an intervention where this person had over $1 million of one of his clients was not performing, and I had to get in and intervene so that they weren't going to go after this person criminally. And ended up being able to negotiate that whole thing out. Because, and again, I say because of me, because all of the letters and all of the emails and all of the shit that I took on, I could have just went, your shit's fucked up, man. I'm out. Right? Yeah. That would have been the smart decision for me. But I don't make smart decisions when my heart and my loyalty are involved. Right? So then going forward, getting into that and kept enforcing. I mean, you know, the biggest piece of what we do is enforcing discipline, process, and procedure. And the more that I did that, the more this person resented, and the more that there was some stuff going on in the background. Like I'll tell you that this person was with his wife, telling his, or they were doing, you know, fantasy stuff. Like I say, I don't care what people do in their own bedrooms. I happened to be involved in it for like 6 or 7 months and didn't even know about it. Like he was having his wife call him my name. You can't make this shit up. Okay. You can't make this shit up. So this was going on, and I don't know. I'm just helping the company, right? I'm never in the presence of him or his wife ever, except for 3 times over the course of, you know, 2 years or whatever it was. And never was I with around his wife without him around, right? So all of this shit starts to fall apart around this guy, and his wife like wants to a divorce because he's abusive, right? Because he literally hired a person to have sex with his wife and then got pissed off at the guy and didn't pay him, and the guy sued him. This is public record. Sued him because he didn't get paid for having sex with his wife. Okay. So this is what we're dealing with. Okay. I don't
even know where to go with this.
Well, here's my point, right? This is a person who in public is attacked me and all of the shit that I've been doing, right? Or all the stuff that I did in the past and trying to say this, that, and the other, because he's hand waving. This is not an example. I'm not going to say the person's name. You know, I'm not going to out them as to who they are. But the point is that this is the stuff when you look I didn't know any of this. All I was trying to do was save my friend's business. And I was pouring me and my team's energy and effort into it. And financially, because I have the checkbook and the finances, because we were helping, did improve. Everything, statistically, financially, everything improved in this company. And then just shit started falling apart. I started getting accused for having an affair with his wife, which never happened. And I'm telling you, if I would have had, you know me well enough right now that I would tell you.
Yeah.
You know,
I do know that for a fact.
I would tell you that I was having an affair. I would admit it right now. Okay. Because that's something that I would be proud of, actually. You know, I would say, look, I had this affair and this is what happened. And he's a douchebag. I didn't know he was a douchebag when all of this stuff was going on. Okay. He then steals from this person. He then, this person that he's married to, his wife, he's bullying and threatening her life and all of this other shit while he's having affairs behind her back. And doing, like, this just goes on and on and on and on and on. Right. And out on his way out, decides to be such a coward that he goes back for child support against his ex-wife. I would never do that. You would never do that, right? Because we would never do something like that. He went back for child support for his kid that was not her kid.
What?
This is what I'm saying, brother. When you link all of this shit together, this is how crazy it gets. And then all of a sudden, all the craziness breaks loose, and I start hearing from my friends, did you steal his business? Number one, it was a shitty fucking business that I don't want to have anything to do with. This was about 2 years ago now, right? So time would prove it out that if I'm not in that business, I didn't steal the fucking business, right?
Right.
Two is that I was having an affair with his wife behind his back, which I never was alone with her ever in the entire time, because they live in another fucking country, right? And so, and then it would bear out to say in the next 2 years, if I would have seen her since then or had an affair with her since then. Hasn't happened. I gave them both advice at the end of this. And I said, stop hating each other and go to work on what you're both individually beautiful at. One decided to descend into fucking madness. Okay. And ended up ripping off one of his other partners for $650,000. And ultimately his ex-wife went on to be massively successful with the programs and the processes and procedures, not hiring us, but she learned the processes, the procedures, the thinking, and the stuff that we taught her while we fixed their business, and went on with that to she's now crushing it and kicking ass out in the marketplace. So this is the kind of thing, like, every person I know has a crazy person story. And to stay silent about it and to let it happen, you just go, oh, the crazy's going to go away. No, the fucking crazy never goes away. Crazy never fucking goes away. You just have to shine light on it and go, I hope nobody else gets screwed by this guy. Convicted rapist, you know, has a suit that he lost. He actually had to pay the guy that he paid to have sex with his wife. He had to pay him. So he lost the court case against him. You know, and all of it is just, it's documented. Okay. It's documented and so on and so forth. Right. So these three stories, and then the worst one, which I'll tell you, these are just examples, like, out of my own life. I could go on and on and on and on about stalkers and crazy shit that's happened in my life. But the last one is really important to me. And it lands in the realm of philanthropy. And as I was telling you before, I only talk about one undercover rescue that I go on. I only talk about one because I don't want to talk about the other entities that I'm with. It's part of the agreements that I have with them. I won't mention their names because that shit is dangerous. Mm-hmm. But the one that I was invited on to go on, that has now had 2 documentaries done around it, and a full motion picture film is being made about right now with Jim Caviezel as the star, right? Is going to come out. Tony Robbins was on it. You know, he spoke about it on MSNBC and a couple of other things. Like, so we were supposed to talk about this and go out and tell the world. The only one I talk about, you will never find anything on any recording or anything that I've ever done talking about any other mission. I don't do it. So I get this phone call about this philanthropic thing that I'm getting ready to do. And this phone call was a guy that knew me, fortunately. And he goes, "Hey, Jason, you're not going to believe this. You know, we got a phone call saying that you're a fraud and that you don't work in the undercover sex slave world." And I'm like, really? Like, this is like, I have pictures, you know, footage, documentary, like all of this kind of stuff. Like, and I was like, interesting. Who said it? So person told me who said it. So I called that person who I happen to know. And he goes, "I'm really surprised and impressed that you would call me directly about this." I'm like, what the fuck else am I going to do? What about me makes you think that I'm going to shy away from controversy or somebody talking shit about me?
Right.
And I didn't care because it doesn't really matter. The guy that knew me and it wasn't going to affect or impact. And he goes, "Yeah, it was this person." And he told me who the person was. And this person was somebody that was actually associated to the same entity. We didn't do missions together, but was associated to it. And so this guy got asked, "Oh, you must go shoulder to shoulder with Jason Sisneros on these missions." And he goes, "Oh no, Jason doesn't do that," and blah, blah, blah. And he talks about it a lot in public because he wants all the glory and this, that, and the other. And he doesn't do that stuff and blah, 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 you know, and just was talking mad shit, you know, about me because he felt as if it was taking away, in my opinion. I don't know. I called the guy, we had a conversation, you know, and I was like, if somebody would have come up to me and said, you know, "Do you go shoulder to shoulder with him?" I would have said, I would have said yes off the bat, just going, because I know he was associated to the same fucking outfit that was easing suffering and saving people. Like, I would have never said anything different. And if I would have said anything, I would have said, "No, we haven't been on a mission together, but I know he does missions and he does these things. And he's, you know, he really seeds back into this place. And I love him as a brother. We're brothers." Right. Mm-hmm. And I said, and that was the thing. I was like, why would you feel it necessary? Well, I just think that people, and this is in philanthropy around a really well-known entity that is doing really great things, where people inside of charity are measuring their dicks on how much more they're doing than somebody else. Fuck that. The fact that this man, I still won't talk shit about him, because the fact that this man has done those, he's gone undercover, he's risked his life, he's done those things. I love you, brother. I know he's going to end up watching this because this is going to stir some shit. It's going to stir all kinds of shit, you know, everything that I've been talking about today. But I love you, brother, and you do great work. The reason why I'm sorry and I feel bad for whatever is inside of you to have to tear me down and tell a mistruth to somebody to make yourself feel better about yourself. I'm sorry for you. Okay. So, and I feel that way about every story that I just told. I love, and you know this about me, this is not fake statement. No. I love each and every one of those men that I just spoke about. Each and every one of them, because they've all fucked up. They've all made mistakes. They've all done, you know, in terms of doing great things, have made some massive mistakes while they were on their way to do great things. And I think all four of them have the opportunity, are doing good things. I think that they have the opportunity to do more good things if they wouldn't try to measure dicks with people. If they would just say, let's go do more good with what I have and the tools and resources I have at my disposal. Yeah. That's my that's my hope. That's my love. That's my blessing to them. That's my forgiveness, because I don't have time for their bullshit to carry around animosity. You know, the one guy that keeps going out and saying shit in fucking public, he makes himself look like a dumbass all the time. And it's ruining his fucking career. He's burying himself in his ability to create revenue. And he's a brilliant human being. And so all of these people could drop that baggage of comparison to me, because you know what? My star is just fucking rising. And it ain't going to get any fucking duller. It's going to do nothing but get brighter. And it's going to fucking shine brighter, and it's going to get bigger, and it's going to do more things, and I'm going to love more. And the more shit that happens to me, you're going to turn me into a bigger fucking lover. So come at me with your shit, because I'm just going to love you through it, and I'm going to get better. It's going to make me stronger. Your hate feeds me.
Dude, I love it. I hope everyone's taking notes right now. Because there's been so many things to take out of this. I mean, there's been nuggets that you've learned from other people. There's been your own wisdom. You know, I love the direction that you want to take this, but closing your eyes and we're pretending to be little kids again, where we used to, you know, play pretend, and we would imagine ourselves, like me, I imagined myself as being a radio host, and like I would visualize these things as a kid. And for some reason, as adults, we forget that. We forget to do that. I know that you're somebody that is creative. You express yourself through writing and reading and creating content. So I know that you've visualized what is possible for this podcast, for this experience. Do you mind sharing with the audience what that is?
I see two things. Okay. I see two outcomes. I see a giant engaged audience. Like I think that we're in a time frame where there's a whole bunch of people that feel left out, that because there's a lot of people that are so certain that on the left they're right and on the right they're right, and that they're wrong and they need to die. And, you know, that there's these fringes on the outside, and there's all of us in the middle going, holy fuck, this is like watching my mom and dad fight. It's killing me. You know what I mean? Like there's a bunch of us that feel that way. I feel that way. I can't stand to watch, like there's a lot of brilliant minds. There's a lot of great things that could be happening in this country that could be advancing us and could be advancing the world, because we are a light unto the world. And because we add more value, because we ease more suffering in the world than any other country. That we, if we could come together, we could be doing that on an exponential scale, right? The comedians in the world that lost faith in humankind, George Carlin being one of them, right? He lost faith. I don't want to lose faith. He lost faith. He just said, you know what? With this prefrontal cortex, the thing that makes us different from any other animal walking this planet, or anything that we've so far discovered in the universe, that we're utilizing that power for us to hate each other and to create division, and for us to find things to kill each other over. He just gave up on people and started fucking making fun of them and pointing at their consumerism and their religion and all the other stuff and their politics. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
The outcome that I see for this is that my voice comes to either lights away or becomes part of another light or a group of lights that is trying to be sane and to love each other, and to take this world that likes to use power and influence and hatred and division to control people for monetary power or for religious power or for political power, that we come together and we go, that's not necessary. In a free thinking, intellectual being and group of an animal kingdom such as the human animal, we can love more, right? We can reach out and forgive more. And it enhances anytime. Here's the thing that I'm addicted to, why I say people's hate feeds me. It's because what it does is I know I'm absorbing the hatred from them so somebody else doesn't have to absorb it. And I know, because I was trained by a massively abusive human being from 6 years old to 17, 11 years. I absorbed someone's hatred and learned how to take their hate and learned how to take those beatings and learned how to transform that into what I've become. And so any amount of hate that comes at me, I know how to I know how to turn that shit. It's like, you know, you give me lead, I'll turn it into gold. So feed me, you know, feed me, because I'm taking the beating for people that are too weak to do it. Wow. Isn't that interesting? How in the beginning of my life, I took my mom's beating so that I could grow up and take the listener's beating. Because anytime anybody's attacking me, I know that they're just metaphors for the attacks that other people are getting in their life, to shut their light down, to shut their mouths up, to put them in the corner. You know, there are Black women in this world that have been raped that have been taken advantage of by the police. There's white women in this world that have been raped and that have been taken advantage of by their husbands or by the police. There's great police officers in this world that have given their life protecting Black women and white women. There's all of these different mixtures. And for us to point our hate at a group, it no longer serves. It's just like the knowledge. It just doesn't, it's like the knowledge that when you smoke, you're going to get lung cancer. You can, that knowledge is now starting to permeate our collective understanding and belief systems to say, I can't hate police, because you know what? There's some damn good ones. Yeah. I can't hate Black people, because you know what? My surgeon that saved my life was one. Yeah. I can't hate white people because they helped free the slaves. I can't hate on. And we're living a time where the lung cancer of today is the hatred that causes division. That's the lung cancer. And we know it. And I believe that my voice will help just filter that back, you know? I mean, and I think that our stories that we're going to have, I mean, we're going to have some really interesting people. We're going to have, you know, the first people that I'm bringing in here is all of the New Dawn girls.
Oh, wow.
Women. I'm bringing them all in, and we're going to sit around a table, and that shit's going to be a free for all for however long it takes. We're going to talk about
that you are not on regular radio.
Well, you know, I don't need regular radio. Look, the entire universe has been set up for me to say whatever the fuck I want.
That's true.
I use hatred as fuel, and there's no fence around me as far as access to an audience. Isn't that interesting?
It's a beautiful thing, right?
So we got to turn that shit into love. So that's what I see. Like that's what I see. Whether the public embraces me or they don't, I'm going to, just like I've been doing for the last, 47 years of my life, I'm going to continue easing suffering in one way or the other. This podcast doesn't determine who I am, whether I'm successful, whether it becomes popular, whatever it is. This should be a voice for people that don't have a voice for themselves. It should be a platform for people that don't have the financial resources to be able to do it, or the time to do it, or the wherewithal to do it, or they're afraid because if they do come out and say some of the shit that I say, that they'll be shunned by Hollywood or by their job or by their mother-in-law or by their father-in-law. This is what it's built for, is for those people that can't speak for themselves, because that's what I've been doing my entire fucking life. Yeah. So, that's where we're going to head, and that's what we're going to do. And I'm stoked, man. And I'm stoked. What else you got?
I'm just inspired because you don't have to do this, but you've chosen to I get to do this. I get to use this medium that, it's like I told you last night, the podcast audience there's going to be a brand new world that's introduced to you and what you're all about. And that makes me giddy, because I know what you've done for me in my life as a friend, as a mentor. And you don't always tell me, it's not like you tell me what I want to hear, and then when I want somebody to coddle me, you kick me in the ass in a very loving way. And I admire that. And I admire that you've taken this on, and I admire that how you've learned how to shift people's hate to fuel your love. What a novel concept. I can't, there's people out there. So like I know, based on what the Misfit Nation is, or some people that are on the outside looking in, if they belong or not. There's people that just feel lost. There's people that they know that they have something special inside them, but they haven't been able to figure out how to use it, or they haven't figured out how to break free from those chains of their past, because they're still believing that they're always going to be a piece of shit like their father. They're always going to be a failure. They're never going to succeed in business because they've kept failing. They're never going to succeed in love because, well, they've failed every other time. And because of that, they're at this I'm afraid to step out in my truth because it hurts so bad. I don't know if I can take another failure. What do you say to those people?
I say, salvation is found in service.
Expand, please. But I know what you mean, but please expand.
There's all kinds of studies. I've got a really cool guy that I'm trying to get to come in on this subject. But when you are actively serving someone else, it's impossible for you to feel pity or sorrow or pain almost, I mean, physical pain, if you've got certain ailments or whatever, I get it, but it lessens it, right? Even the physical pain when you're in service of someone else. Now, when you because we're all addicts, we're all running around, we're addicted to something, right? Mm-hmm. We're addicted to normalcy. We're addicted to problems. We're addicted to abuse. We're addicted to drugs. We're addicted to alcohol. We're addicted to problems. We're addicted to food. We're all addicted to something, right?
Right.
And so when you get into service, you get this little hit of, man, that felt good. It felt good. And from two sides of it, I mean, I look at this and we're not talking about just the fluffy shit. The selfish side of it is that you see somebody that's worse off than you. You know what I mean? Nobody will say that publicly. But it is something that people get out of it, is that, oh my God, this person's doing worse than I am. And it makes you feel a little better about yourself and about your own life. And I mean, again, you won't hear people say that publicly, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
And don't feel bad about it, because the other side of that equation is you understand it takes some of your own pain away. And now you start to get addicted to something that's a different vehicle than you were addicted to, your own pity parties, your own sorrow, your alcohol, your drugs, your whatever. And how bad of a earth would it be if everybody was addicted to serving those that are worse off than them? I'd like to try that version of humanity.
Sure.
Whether it ever happens or not, but I don't believe we've ever tried that version of humanity.
Yeah.
Is what if we all got addicted to helping somebody that's worse off than we are? And that became our measure of success. Not the house, not the car, not the power, not the money, not all that kind of stuff. But how many people did you help that were worse off than you?
Yeah.
Now, what that does is that wakes up another version of you that now goes, instead of helping one person, what if I help two? Well, what do I have to do to help two people? I've got to get better skill sets. Right. I have to have better influence skill sets. I have to learn more. So you become better, right? So that's my complete belief about life is, one, that we're put here to get as good as we possibly can for the purpose of serving as many as we can. And I don't ascribe to a specific religion or a specific belief. Here's my belief. I believe there's a God and I'm not him or her. Okay. That's my only real belief system that I have about the spiritual realm, right? Is that I believe there's something bigger than me out there and I'm not him or her. Okay. Don't know. We'll see from there. So this becomes how people get out of their pain and their suffering, is to help someone out of theirs. And then to become addicted to that more and more and more and more. And then you start to become somebody who likes compromise. Your version and my version, I know that the compromise is somewhere in the middle, and it's probably going to be better than either one of us could have come up with together or by ourselves. That's what I believe.
It's beautiful, man. I would say that right out the gate, I mean, the value that you've brought, it's like, this is not even going in deep yet. I'm so inspired by what you're doing here, and you've challenged me to, I mean, every time I talk to you, I feel challenged up my game, but even now, like in doing my show, Like I want to go to another level, you know? I admire the work that you put in to make this happen. And, you know, I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm excited about your guest. I'm excited to keep learning from you. This is just going to be a blessing, man. I'm really, really happy that you've had me on.
Well, I appreciate you being here. I struggled for weeks and weeks and weeks. And finally I was like, you know what? The right answer is to have Joshua come in here and have this conversation with me, because I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well,
And I love you, and you are doing big things in the world, and, you know, and you are your own worst enemy, and, you know, and as am I, right? And getting past that, and us loving each other. I mean, again, we've had rough conversations. We've had fun conversations. We have had good times, and we've had struggles, and, you know, that's the way that family works.
yeah.
And what I really look forward to is the Misfit Nation becoming a family, loosely associated or tightly associated or whatever it is. I can tell you that my Misfit Nation family right now, I could not have imagined a more diverse group of fuck ups that I love with every cell of my body, to come together and call themselves and to hashtag themselves Misfit Nation, and to be a part of this, and to name themselves, to have the honor of having, you know, to be, you know, the de facto, you know, sort of guide or leader or whatever you want to call it, of a group of people that are giant hearts and souls.
Yeah.
That have been buried under a mountain of criticism and mistakes and those types of things. The things that I alliterated earlier and we talked about is just an example. Those are the metaphors for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I fight back against that, the fact that I can forgive them. Not only can I forgive them, but I turn all that shit into really great conversations of people to go, you're not anything like that person said you were, you know, you're not anything like that. And that stuff feeds my soul. It feeds my spirit. It gives me energy. And the more that somebody comes at me like that, it allows me to love more, to have more empathy, to be able to deliver more empathy, and for people that are in this group to be able to forgive themselves one more time, to get on the bike one more time, because that's the person that's going to save my life. That's the person that's going to save your life. That's the person that's going to end up making this world a better place for my children, my grandchildren, and future generations, for everybody. And that's who I'm calling. This is not a listen to Jason talk. This is a fucking get into action. Go to the Bald Avenger page on Facebook. Join us. Get to know other Facebook. Get to know the other Misfit Nation folks. Join our pages. Go to Instagram and the Bald Avenger official. You know, all of the hashtags and all the stuff that my social media team, who is top notch and world class, by the way, will be putting out there, and help us spread the message. That's all we're looking for. When somebody says, Jason, how can we help? How can we help you with your philanthropic work? How can we help you in this area? Spread this message. Let them listen to this podcast. If it's something that attaches to you, please join us. We need you.
Yeah.
We need you. I need you. If it's not for you, don't spend a bunch of time. Look, spend your energy going and loving your family or whatever. I understand you can hate me. I cuss. There's a lot of things that are about me that I can understand why you wouldn't want to be a part of this, but don't spend a bunch of it hashtag, you know, and hammering and putting negative comments and stuff. That puts poison in your soul that turns into cancer that ultimately kills you. Don't kill yourself. You know, go love. Love enhances the spirit. It enhances the cells. It enhances your ability to be able to be more vital, more energetic, and to process the very food that goes in your body.
It's true.
Hatred and complaining and putting comments on people's shit, that will give you cancer and you will die from it. Don't do it. To me, or to anybody else. Stop fucking doing it to Trump. Stop doing it to Obama. Stop doing it to the people that are out there. Don't spend your energy hating. Spend your energy loving, and you're going to belong to our crew more than anything.
Yep.
So I think, I mean, if that's it, brother, you don't have any more questions? Nothing else?
I think we've covered everything
for today.
For today.
We got a bunch of shit to fuck up tomorrow. We can talk about next week.
I know. I was about to say, let me go rake some havoc, and we'll come back and do this again tomorrow, and then I'll come back with some more stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm proud of you, man. Because this is a commitment to do, and I know a lot of people that say, hey, I'm going to start this. I have something to say. I want to do this. I want to do that. You're a man of action. You've taken action. I'm proud that you made this happen. You put the work in, and I'm excited to watch this grow. I'm excited to watch it develop. And more importantly, just excited to be able to learn. And so I'm so grateful that you had me be a part of the first episode.
Yeah,
and
thank you, brother.
Really excited to see where this goes.
It means the world to me. And you know, it's been funny. This feels odd to me, right? Like doing the comedy thing, you know, I don't use the word terrified very often, but I was fucking terrified to do that. Right. And this is not a terrified. I mean, I can do this all day long, but this is a place that I haven't been before, because all of the content that I've delivered up to this point on other people's shows, TV, radio, podcasts has been, what do you want them to do, Jason? Go give to charity. Go do this. Go do that. This, I'm calling, if you want to be a part of this, to download this and to subscribe to the Bald Avenger on YouTube, on iTunes, on Facebook, on please take action, and then share the shit out of this with people that you believe belong in the Misfit Nation, and that really are struggling and need to have a collective hug of hundreds of thousands of people that already identify with our mission and what we're trying to do in this world. So please do that. That's the action step that I would ask from my heart. We'll never ask for money. We'll never ask for anything. I mean, if you decide to buy the shit that comes on here, that's on you. And we're going to give both sides of every story. And but we want to keep this very pure. We want to keep it to a place that spreads a message of hope and also action. So that would be it. It's the first time I've ever done that. You believe that? The first time I've ever asked for somebody to download my shit, subscribe, and share. First time.
You did pretty good. Well, I mean, look, you're covering, everyone has a business need. Regardless of where you're at in your career, you have a need. You're going to learn it here. Oh, yeah. Everyone has, again, it's vitality, but everyone wants to look and feel better. I don't give a crap even if you're a 5% body fat. I don't know who those people are, but 5% body fat. There's something that you want to improve because that's who we are as a human. Yep. The giving side, the giving nature of what you are and what you are about and who you be, like all of those elements are going to be there for us. The business, politics, like making sense of this senseless mess that we have. So the reason to listen to the Bald Avenger, to me, and to this podcast, I keep calling it an experience, because it's going to play on all of your senses. You're going to laugh. I promise you're going to laugh. You're going to cry. You're going to be inspired. Your beliefs are going to be challenged. And maybe this little box that you've put yourself in is going to be blown the fuck up. And yes, I just dropped the F-bomb. Anyway, it's going to be blown up because it needs to be. And you might be pissed. Yeah, and that's okay. Because sometimes that anger that we have is maybe that we're really just mad at ourselves because we know what we're hearing is true. But I'm excited about it because it's all practical when you really absorb it and take notes. But I'm excited about this. This is going to be an amazing, amazing ride. And Jason, it's been an absolute honor. Thank you. I love you, brother. Thank you again. And thank you and welcome everybody that becomes part of the Misfit Nation. One of the things that Joshua said that I want to spend the rest of my life doing is transmitting genuine love. I love you. That has caused me problems in romantic relationships before because I say it all the time and they feel like they're not special, and they are special when they're that close to me. They should obviously understand that. But I love you. I want to expand my capacity to be able to love you, to love you so much that you forgive yourself, to love you so much
that maybe if I've wronged you in the past, that you forgive me, that I love you so much that we can make a dent in this fucking universe instead of feeling powerless.
Yeah.
And that's what I really am looking forward to with all of this. And one way or the other, brother, I'm going to be hacking away at the universe and trying to add good, whether it's this show or whatever it is. But I would love to see millions of you joining me.
Yeah.
All right, brother. I love you. Thank you for being
here.
Love
you too, man.
Thank you for supporting me. And we'll talk to you very soon.
All right, man. God bless. Thank you.
God bless.
See you.